Hi, I'm Ethan Grigolt, driver of the Evolution Racing team and the Logitech G Racing Hyundai XL. Before I got into real racing, sim racing pretty much taught me everything I know when it comes to racing lines on the track, car control, racecraft around other cars, just everything to do with racing I learned on sim racing first. When I jumped into the real car, it was a bit of a wake-up call. There's a lot more sensations in a real car than you get in the sim, but once you get past that, pretty much a lot of the techniques are exactly the same, and if you're good in the sim and you're not afraid too much in the real world, you should be able to translate it easily.
When I'm driving an F1 car, steering wheel feedback is one of the most important things. It helps me decide when to brake and how hard. It's how I feel the surface of the road. Every bump in the terrain, every wheel slip. If my tyres are starting to lose grip, I can sense that immediately. When I'm driving in a sim, I need that same tactility, that level of detail I have in a real car.
Racing games have come a long way in the last 20 years. Nothing's really changed in how we approach force feedback in all that time. Cutting-edge sims are now so realistic, drivers across all disciplines are using them for training. Our main goal when designing Trueforce was to improve the number of sensations that you actually feel, to put you better in contact with the car that you're driving so that you can improve your performance and that enjoyment of driving on a track. The physical feedback needs to be more immediate or accurate, or a player loses immersion or control.
Game developers are still having to recreate their force feedback from a set library of effects instead of deriving it from real-time modelling.
Trueforce is special because it levels the playing field for PC and console gamers. You're now getting the extra level of precision and detail that you need, regardless of which platform is your choice. This is not just iteration, it's total evolution. Trueforce force feedback works differently. It hooks directly into the physics engine of the game. Games already calculate the forces on the tyres and the steering wheel. The Trueforce algorithm is able to process this data at up to 4,000 times a second. It will even use the game's audio engine and pass it directly on to the driver.
We spend a lot of time as audio designers trying to make each car sound unique and as realistic as we possibly can. Being able to integrate the audio into the force feedback is something that we've wanted to do for a long time, and Trueforce enables us to do that. And the ability to send the audio to the wheel, to have it respond and vibrate with the loss of traction, really increases my ability to give that immersion to the player.
You can sense the changing surface of the road. You'll be able to feel if the back end of the car is losing grip.
The first time we had it running in the build, you could feel the wheel humming and vibrating as we revved the engine. Our immediate reaction was it really adds another level of immersion.
The first thing you're going to feel with a Trueforce wheel is the engine note. The minute the engine starts in the game, you will know exactly which car you are driving. Trueforce is the beginning of something new. This is now the foundation for all wheels that we'll produce in the future. This extra level of information gives everyone all the information they need to learn how to control their car better. Trueforce benefits any racing fan looking for a more realistic driving experience.
Because winning is all about feeling.
So, Winton. 2 races. 1 winner. A dominant display by Jared Filso has shown that once he is clear, he is the man to catch. But what about the dramas behind him? In the middle of a cold winter, the heat was on for round 2. We saw the first safety car of the season. And we saw tight racing all the way to the checkered flag. We now, though, get to stretch our legs and head to the hills in Austria for round 3. A track that is so well known in the world of Formula 1. It is now our turn. Welcome to the Red Bull Ring. Welcome to a warm and sunny Spielberg for round 3 of the Logitech G Pro Invitational Series. This track is designed for speed and we are expecting a great race ahead. After the double win for Jared Filso in round 2, we now have a new series leader. So what does the next 60 laps hold for us? To find out more, we welcome our commentators, Jake Blackhall and Stephen Sandman Clark. Guys, this is one of the most special places that brings special racing. What are your thoughts tonight?
It's going to be a crazy one, that's for sure. Thanks, Cass. I am Jay Blackwell, joining me once again, Stephen Sandman Clark. And Sandman, we're in for a cracker tonight. 60 laps here at the Red Bull Ring. It's hot, it's ferocious. We've got new drivers joining the championship, or a new driver joining the championship. But the championship can't be any closer. Jared Filso taking over the points lead as we head into tonight.
G'day Jake, g'day everyone. Thrilled to be here, round 3 of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational, and I've been really looking forward to this racetrack. This track, for me, has always been a favourite on the F1 calendar, and now we get to see our Aussie homegrown V8s race around here. I am absolutely pumped for this one, can't wait.
Yeah, neither can I. It's going to be a great round 3 for the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. As we'll look at those championship standings, we'll bring those up for you. Jared Filso, with his double wing at Winton, takes over the championship lead ahead of Jake Burton. Ethan Warren in third, with Anderson, Hampstead, Maloney, Gardner, Myersberg, and Ryan rounding out that top 10. Another person that we don't see up there, Madison Down, obviously not being able to compete in that first round, and I'm sure he'll be looking to try and get it back onto that front step. Like we said, it's just a work for him now as he sits down in 23rd position to try and claw back as much as he can. We know he's going to be a competitor, Sandman. Now he's just got to get it done.
Absolutely, and for him now, it's just put his best foot forward and see how he goes and just see how high he can climb. We know he's a good driver, and we know he will climb, and it'd be interesting to see where he comes out come towards the end of the season. But how's Filso's lead at the moment? That's pretty handy. It's only round 3, anything can happen, but it is nice to have those little bankers in your back pocket as you head into round 3.
And that's exactly right. We said there's no drop round, there's no little errors that you can afford this whole season, Sandman. So you've got to make sure that you put everything up to the top. And at the moment, he's not on top. It's going to be tight here. The lap times are always so close around the Red Bull Ring. There is nothing separating him in practice at the moment. Half a second separates the top 20 cars. It is crazy close. We expect that. Down currently on top. But another person, a name that we haven't seen in a long time, I think anywhere, currently sitting in P3, Richie Standaway joins us as one of our new drivers here for this round 3 of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational.
Absolutely, and we're thrilled to have him on board. Of course, his warm-up leading up to this has been a recent test session because obviously he's got the wildcard Bathurst drive with Greg Murphy, so it's nice to see him in our series, and geez, he's competitive. There's nothing in it between the top 3. Have a look at those times.
There's not less than a tenth that actually separates the top four. Sorry, there. Ethan Warren currently in that fourth position with Phil Sell in P5. These guys just getting into their rhythm before qualifying. We have a 20-minute session here out, and the track is 48 degrees Celsius, so it's a bit hot out there. So the boys are going to be working a little bit hard, and girls, to try and make sure that they get everything out of the car to look for a good result tonight. 60-lap race, and as I say that, Ellis decides to give us a bit of action in practice. That's a backup car. Get the backup car out of the truck, and we'll get that one ready for qualifying. But a 60-lap race here, Sandman, 2 compulsory pit stops. It's going to be tough. The draft will bring the whole field together, but there's going to be a lot of strategy to play out.
Absolutely. We talk about tyre deg, how their fuel mileage is. You know, you talk about the compulsory pit stops, and all that will come into play. And I'm really keen to see the racing and how it works with the draft too, because you can see how effective it is. You know, when you watch the Formula One broadcast, obviously they've got the little cheats like DRS. We don't have any of that sort of stuff. We don't need that. But it's going to be good to see how these cars behave in the tow. We know that the slipstream is big when we go to some of these circuits. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how it plays out here at the Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, and I think a lot of boys as well in qualifying, it's going to be a key factor. If you can get a good draft lap, not too close to the car in front, not getting impeded on your lap, you will be up near the pointy end, which could actually see a shuffle in qualifying, Sandman. We might not see the regulars up the front. I think we will. We know they're fast. No matter what they do, they are quick. But it could have a little bit that 1 or 2 guys that's like hovers around the top 10. If they get a good draft lap, they can push themselves up as down. Ellis, they're all practicing as that's Richie Standaway actually let them through in the Sim Blacks Ford Mustang, letting those two through as they look like they're practicing for a race lap. But yeah, good to have Richie Standaway in this series. Obviously going to have that wild card, like you said, at the Bathurst issue. We're sharing it with Greg Murphy. Who else would you want to share the car with? But it's going to be awesome to see how he goes tonight.
Absolutely, yeah. Excited to see how they go at Bathurst, and good to see Greg Murphy back too. Legend of the mountain, but you know, we've got 60 laps for these guys to think about tonight, and that's obviously a different mindset too when you think about what the teams have had. We've had different racetracks. The one thing I'm curious about, we were talking about the slipstream in qualifying. We saw it at Sebring for round 1, where teammates were actually helping each other, getting those time laps and using each other for draft teammates, I guess, just to put in a bank of time. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone tries that.
It's going to be an interesting one. I think we always know that coming here at the Red Bull Ring, no matter what category comes here, whether it's F1, whether it's supercars that we've got here, it's going to be difficult to get that lap perfect, because you could get a really good draft lap but then make a mistake through the infield. We know how tight that turn 6 to 7 is. A little mistake, you can run wide, get an off track. You can use the inside of the curb if you want to be a little bit cheeky and try and use the inside of the curb to hug the inside of those corners. But you could do that really well and then stuff up the rest of the lap and have no draft. So I think they're all going to be searching for that lap, but I don't think anyone will have an optimal lap in qualifying.
Yeah, and the one thing I'm worried, concerned, I guess it's up to the teams to be worried about it, is how much curb they actually use and can get away with without losing that track, their time that they punch out, because you can see just how much of the racetrack that they use off the racing line, and it's one of those things to be very mindful of, because the last thing you want to do is come into those last couple of corners if you're on a great lap and have it thrown away just by track limits.
Exactly, and the track limits are so on the edge here. You could be that little bit further one lap and you won't get it, and you just go that centimetre more, like, can I push it? Can I get a little bit more on the entry? A lot of these guys like to use the extra bit of rumble strip, as we're looking now. Maloney, nearly all 4 wheels off the track using the rumble strip to open up that entry into turn 4, as he has a little bit of an inside front lock. But you just open up that corner to try and get the drive, get a better exit, and you could get that 1x, and that's all it needs to cost that 1 lap. Then you got to reset. Yes, it's 20-minute session, but it's a reset. You can't escape. No escape rule's still in effect. So you got to make sure you drive it back, get it in the pit lane, fresh set of boots, and go again.
Absolutely. I love this part of the practice when it's just the last dying minutes. Everyone's got some sort of idea of how they want their strategy to play out for the evening, but it's written down on a piece of paper. And as we see on screen, I was just about to say, everything can be thrown out in an instant, and that's exactly what happened with Brad Ryan. Thankfully, it wasn't qualifying, but that's exactly right. You can have the best day and have everything down on paper. It looks like we've got more damage there. That's Jake Maloney in the TTR car. That's got a lot of damage, but looks like he's going to try and get it drive it all the way back to the pit lane, or is he going to abort? Because that's what you were talking about. You can't have an incident in qualifying. You have to make it back to pit lane just so you can go again.
Exactly, and with the way the draft trains, I think are going to be, if one person holds up one person, slows down to let another person by, it could be a bit of a chaos that we've seen numerous times here at the Red Bull Ring. Might have set a good lap time there just in practice, putting 2/10 off the top in P6. There is nothing separating the top guys. If you look at Wayne Burke, just having a look, it's less than nearly 0.4 of a second separates 20 cars. And man, if this is going to be qualifying, we're going to have no voice for the race left as the end of practice starts, and we're going to get ready for qualifying. But Sam, man, we're going to be in for a crazy one if that's how they're going to start us off.
Mate, it's nights like this that I wish I had a little bit more talent in my right foot, because I'd love to be racing with these guys. I love this track. You can see how close the times are, and no doubt these guys are going to put on a good show. They've already done it for round 1 for us at Sebring. They did a great job at Winton for round 2, and here we are, Red Bull Ring, and we can see everyone's keen to file out of pit lane as we start qualifying.
And off they go. The big train of cars, 34 of them, I think we're 34, 35, I think we have tonight. A couple of people unable to make tonight, but still, it's a solid field. The best guys that we can get in the supercars right now. And Richie Stanaway deciding to lead them all out as everyone else follows suit. And no one will be wanting to take over the lead as they are all nose to tail, trying to maybe look for a partner. I think that looks like that's Phil Sell or Kostecki, one of them going through in the Boost Mobile cars, looking like they're going to overtake. And that's as well one of the things, this opening lap, you want to try and find your teammate. You got to try and find them, figure out where you are, and then get yourself a gap. And there's not a lot of time to do it around here.
Absolutely. One of the most valuable things around Red Bull Ring right now is real estate. And you just want some clear air. You don't want anyone jeopardising that lap you put out. So I love this part where everyone's just sort of taking it easy. They're just trying to get themselves a little bit of position. Like you said, they might try and look for their teammate. But here we are at the beautiful Red Bull Ring. These cars look sensational on track. The racing's going to be close. And we're about to start the first lap. I'm keen to see them unfold. And look at Richie. Like you said, he was first out of the packet, got out, got some clear track, and now he just needs to do eyes forward. He knows he's got 20 minutes, but it's just important to get that one banker down.
And that's it. One banker can just ease that little bit of pressure. The nerves settle in, and you get a little bit of angst once you don't do the first lap, because you've got to push then, don't you, Sam? Man, if you make that one mistake on your first out lap, you know, I didn't get that one done. I've got to now do another banker lap. That wastes another 2, 3, 4 minutes of your lap just getting another banker in. As Stanaway uses all the extra, then a little bit more, a little bit of dirt coming off as he starts his first lap. And look at the train of cars. Everyone in the tow, but Stanaway. What a shot as we look down the gorgeous front straight of the Red Bull Ring. This track is absolutely gorgeous. I know it's on my bucket list to go to. I'm sure it will be up there with a lot of other people's. It's a beautiful place to see from what we've seen on every single race that's ever gone there. But Stanaway opening up, and I'm sure that purple sector is going to go amongst everyone through that first sector.
Absolutely. And you know, we talk about this, it's such a mind game. You know you got 20 minutes, you think 20 minutes to put down a banker? Yeah, no worries, too easy. But then when the pressure's on and you're up against the clock, and like you said, if you lock a front or you just make one little mistake, it's like, damn it, now I've got to go again. And once you put that banker in, it actually helps you to push that little bit harder, because you know that you've already got something decent to fall back on.
That's right. And then you can try and just explore a little bit, use a little bit more exit here, a little bit more curb here, just try and find that extra tent that you need. And I think that's what we're going to be looking for. We're going to be talking about tents in this session. One of the cars that looked like one of the SSR cars sideways out of the curve, it was Hobson right out sideways, got the thing safe. I thought he was going to run way wider out of turn 6, sorry, but he managed to hold on to it. And this is where we'll see our first lap times coming up on the timing chart. It'll be Richie Stanaway that'll lead him across for the first time in qualifying. And let's see what he puts down as a banker. If he does set a banker, he does. 1:30.1, that's actually not bad. Eating Brick Gold to P1 at the moment. Provisional pole as the rest of the field flurry through. And as I say that, Kostecki to the top.
And Phil sat right behind him too. You could see these guys doing a bit of a draft train with each other, the Boost Mobile Commodores. So this is it. They've all managed to get that first one out of the way, but you can see the difference there. Like, you know, from first to 15th is a big, look at that, over nearly a second. So they know that they need to make those times count. But it'll be interesting to see if they all fire straight back to pit lane and put a new set of tyres on, because as we know, new tyres are always your best friend at any racetrack.
new tyres are your friend, and I think tyres around here, especially with a 48-degree track, is going to be key, as Warren is currently provisional pole at the moment. A couple of people now, and these are things, people now moving out of the way, letting other people through to try and get a better lap. But Warren looks like he got a good opening lap. A little bit of draft help from Anderson in front would have got him just that little bit extra that he needed. There's nothing in it. 0.003 between the two up the top. That's close there, man, for the first lap out.
Absolutely, not bad first time round. Almost 5 minutes. Just the boost cars back on track, and you can see them on screen where they're just working together. Are they going to fire into pit lane? I don't know. We're just going to see them might have another run in it. But obviously, you can see that everyone looks like they may have cooled off. You can see the times at the bottom of the counter. They've only got yellow sectors, so they may not be pushing too hard. And we see them all, most of the guys firing back to pit lane for those new Dunlops.
Yeah, a lot of them coming into pit lane. Two boost cars pushing the pit entry. I don't know if you wanted to push that anymore. They could have ended up in the fence. And like we're saying, you don't want to cause any damage because you could live with it. Obviously, they're in the pit lane. They can reset once they're in the pits. But it's that you made that mistake, you could stuff up the pit entry and get yourself a penalty. You don't want to cause an accident, especially in qualifying. As we look at one of the cars rolling around all by themselves at the moment, they're just cruising around, obviously on an outlap, going to get set. Adam Hayne to go again and maybe see what he can do on this lap. Obviously, it boarded his first lap, which it would have done if he got it off track. Now he's going to set up to go again, but no drafting help for him. Clear track, but he'll get the guys coming out of pit lane.
Absolutely. I'm just trying to see how that's going to play out when it comes to new pit entry. So, there we go. Pit exit I was talking about, and everyone is flowing out. So that can be tricky. When you are out of sequence, it's good that you get that free track position in the track area. But that bit that throws you is when everyone's filing back out of pit lane and they're on their slow lap ready to start a hot one.
And it's hard to try and pick your markers, and especially if here comes Blake Warboys is on a lap. He was flashing the light, so I think he's on a lap. He's gone down the inside of Griffin Gardner. He may have got bought, then that could be his lap done. And with this amount of cars, you're definitely not going to get a lap amongst all this. So he's rolled out of it by the looks of it back. No, he's still got his lights flashing. He might be on there.
Oh, you feel for him, don't you?
Yeah, this is difficult. And what do? He's trying to get a lap in. You can't do anything about it, though. All these guys are out there, but they've got to be wary of the blue flags. They should have a spotter, team manager. Yep, a couple of guys moving out. They're doing a good job. Some of them are doing a good job, but this is the hard part. And that's that lap. That's gone. That's
almost
hard.
reminds me of the old days of Pukekohe. You'd see, because it's such a short lap for them, everyone would be on their slow lap, and then you got guys on a fast one. So it's crucial to get that timing, and of course that's the important part that team managers will play in these series, because a lot of these teams everyone has crews that work behind the scenes just to help them with that track position. Obviously that didn't work out too great for Blake, but he's going to now try and push on and hopefully he saved a little bit of those tyres just to see if he can keep on with it.
Yeah, he's going to see if he can try and get another lap and see where he can benefit from that. But just one of those things where it's so hard. Another car on a lap in the background there as a couple of guys were serving around. As we look at Jake Burton coming up to start his lap. So these guys now all starting their second run. As we have a look, Vizakev, always love this shot as we have a look down into turn number 1. Straight, uses all the curb on the exit. Yeah, uses the rumble strip and got it straight and pointed, and off he goes.
He's far enough where he may be able to get advantage of that toe too, so that obviously would have hurt him a little bit on exit, but he hasn't got to worry too much. He has got a little bit of slipstream that may be able to help him out, but not ideal up that long straightaway when you get on exit. Not a bad job there. Still a little bit squirrely as he gets the power down, but like we spoke about, it's a little bit warm, so these guys will be battling temperatures, so also getting these new tyres up to temperature as well, that's crucial.
Yeah, struggling in the traction zones, just a little bit of rear locking there as he got the car stopped. Did a good job. Better exit there though out of turn number 4 as he goes through this long turn 5. Then into turn 6, you just gotta wait for the car, get the nose pointed, and it's still wait. Easy on the throttle, then flat, shift, then back down to third. Use all this curve on the inside, try and get the car hooked. He short shifted there, Sam, man, but ran it wide using all the track and more. He's still pushing. Even if he did make a mistake, this could be an improvement from Burton.
Absolutely, and it's key to get these last 2 turns correct too, because it's so easy just to run wide and like a mistake. There we go. He's backed out of it. He's already seen his times. It cost him a little bit. So, he's on the grass. Nearly nailed the wall on pit exit, but yeah, he'll just go out of sync now, put on a new set of tyres and try again.
That was closer to Phil Sell and Kostecki the last time around. As I say, Kostecki, he goes to the top. Gardner goes fifth. The times are shuffling as these guys put in their second laps at the moment. Anderson goes into P number 4. So good job from Josh Anderson. A 10 separates the top 3 at the moment. Kostecki, Warren, Phil Sell, and then Anderson in 4th with Down in 5th. But these guys now all improving their lap times. Ford moves up to P number 17 as well in his Evolution Racing team, Commodore. So these guys now, that's their second run's done, Sam, and now they'll make sure we bring them back in and go again.
That's right, and we're almost approaching the halfway mark of this 20-minute session for qualifying, so they'll have some sort of idea of how it's playing out for them, you know, how hard they need to push on the next one, whether it was a little mistake that cost them. But I'm surprised there's not too many teammates that are drafted a little bit too. Just as I say that, the 2 TTR cars are on track. Obviously a little bit different there with one exiting and one on a hot lap. But yeah, I thought I'd see a little bit more draft play as far as teams working together. But maybe they'll try that in the dying stages.
Yeah, it's one of those things. You've got a 20-minute session. Do you look for your partner, your teammate straight away, as I say that, and then push towards the end, or do you just wait and get your own lap, see what happens? I think the first run you wait, you see when you come out in that big train. It's so hard to try and find a teammate unless you choreograph it in the pit lane. You've just got to go with the flow of that massive train that comes out of the pit lane and deal with it then. But now these guys should have a little bit of time to try and figure out what they need, as a lot of these guys are pushing that pit entry. They've got to do it twice tonight in the race, so if you got to try and practice it, you may as well do it in qualifying.
Absolutely, nothing to lose, especially when you're that close to the pit entry. You know, if you do some major damage, you haven't got that too far to go to limp the car back into the pit stall. So that's exactly right. Something to think about, when you do it 2 times in the race. You know, these guys will be in a different situation. They'll be under pressure. They'll be trying to make up that time, because there's so much time that can be lost entering and exiting pit lane, as we all know. So that plays a big part in their mind, and that is something that will be a key, especially when the pressure's on.
Yeah, that's one thing that you don't want to make a mistake of. Have a look at drone cam, which we'll see throughout the race. These guys all funneled through pit lane, coming back out, and a couple of cars that are going to be once again on other laps, as it's just one of those things I saw Burton go through before. Gilliam now coming out, and there's Adam Hayne again, who's on the alternate strategy compared to everyone else. So it's hard, as there was one of the SS car. Yeah, SS, one of them moved over, and then Hayne had to, that's lap done for him. It's hard in one of these tracks. You just got to make sure, you got to sort of stick with the pack. You might not want to, but you sort of have to.
Yeah, it probably does benefit in the long run. You know, there are other tracks, think about Spa, where it's such a long lap around there. You know, that can benefit you when you're sort of out of sequence. But when there's that many cars like these guys for this racetrack, it does make it difficult.
As we look at the rest of the calendar, as these guys try and sort them out for the next round, we have Monza, 2 weeks between here and Monza, and that's going to be once again another draft factor track with the long straights at Monza. I can't wait for that one. Then we go to Spa, that you were just mentioning, Sam, which again is going to be awesome to see the supercars there, as we have a bit of a break between the two, with Hockenheim after that, then Sandown and Bathurst, with Belle Isle and Phillip Island finishing off the season. But Sandown, I've driven it. I know, I'm sure you have, Sam. What a track. What an addition to iRacing. That track is mega in any car at the moment.
Mate, it puts a huge smile on our face, when we know that we've got, the likes of new racetracks. Sorry, I'm going to get distracted there, because on the exit, did you see how dirty it is offline out of that last turn? Like, that's really going to play a part in that. But yeah, hugely looking forward to Sandown and pumped to have... Oh, there's a couple of cars off of the last turn now. Obviously, that was a little bit before. You can see how dirty it is. Look at that patch of dirt that's on exit. Yeah. That is right on the racing line. You can see that's exactly where these guys are tearing that bit of dirt, track up. So that's going to be probably something that's going to play into their minds coming into these last few laps. You can see how dirty it is.
Yeah, it's a weird spot for dirt to be on the racing line. It's someone must have gone off and brought back on a lot of dirt from the other corners beforehand. You can do that. Obviously, the cars can bring on some dirt, and there's a lot of damage to do on Rudd's Commodore as he brings it down. That's between turns 1 and 2. He's just going to be limping that car around. He has to do a whole lap to get this car back around to pit lane. He's in P12 currently, so doing a good job in qualifying, but a damaged car right now is going to hurt his chances to any better that lap time.
Absolutely, but the good thing is that it's still, even though it's crabbing and it's horrible to drive, he can get back to pit lane. So that'll be a quick reset once he gets into pit lane, and then he can push on again. But thankfully, he can still get round and make it back to the stall.
Oh, we got another one off. Tom Freer in the dirt between turn 6 and 7.
I noticed people doing this in practice, and that may be his way of just getting out of the way of traffic. He might have had a moment and just decided to cut real wide, just head for the grass. So not sure, we didn't see a replay of that, but I did notice people doing that in practice, just trying to get out of the way of other people's hot laps.
And as we said, Maloney moved himself up into P7 with an improved lap time. Warren goes to the top. Now 9,000. Gilliam, goes to 4th as well. So they're all putting in good lap time, shuffling up that top order. But Ethan Warren, currently provisional pole sitter, with a 29.604 in front of Kostecki and Philsell.
How good's that? Less than a 10th top couple in the top 3. That's terrific. That's just trying to get to that throttle, just that little bit of a breath earlier than the next competitor. That's where that time is gained, and there's absolutely nothing in it for the top 3. That's exciting.
That's what we want to see around here. And it's going to be like that the whole race. We know it's going to be like that. But these guys setting up again. Kostecki with Richie Stanaway. Looks like they might be setting themselves up to go again. And Phil Selb comes out the pit lane behind them. So I'm sure these 3 are going to be set and good to go. It's obviously Richie. He's going to be the Boost Mobile back car. So who else is he going to run with right now? The Boost Mobile car. So that makes a lot of sense that he's going to be helping them trying to get a better lap time.
Absolutely. And when you look at the times too, unfortunately, Richie's got himself back in 18th for the position at the moment. So this is actually going to work out good for him. We know that Phil Sell and Kostecki have still got decent times underneath them, so they can help and assist Richie to try and get him up the order a little bit. So this is actually good team play between these guys, even though they're not teammates on the track in the Logitech series, but maybe a little bit of teammates off the track.
A little bit of teammate going on. It could be different colours, as like NASCAR. Could have all the different liveries, still teammates. So let's see what these guys are going to do for this lap. This could be the last run too, Sam, and you're looking around 4 minutes left of the session. Warren currently provisional pole. You're about 1:30 a lap by the time, obviously, your cooldowns are about a little bit slower, obviously roughly 1:45, maybe 2 minutes, depends on if you get traffic is down, flashing his lights. He's on an outlap too, so he might be actually trying to join onto the back of this pit lane. There is a couple of cars exiting as well, so this could be interesting as these guys come across the line. This 4-car train will be quick, so expect there's that dirt. Yep, still there. Someone must have ran wide off that corner on the exit and brought it back on right there.
Yeah, it's right on the racing line. This will actually work out nicely for Down. He's just going to sneak on the end of back of this toe and say, you little beauty. Thanks, fellas.
It might be nice, but look at this train of cars coming out of pit lane. These guys might have caught the traffic at the worst time needed. A lot of these guys moving over, letting them through, but this could be the chaos right now. Coming up into turn number 3, there is a lot of cars. One of the ERT cars.
Oh, no! That's a teammate! It's a teammate! Oh, that obviously wasn't on purpose, but that's the last thing, and that's ruined both their laps now, because obviously that damage to Anderson, that's going to be crucial. So, mate, we were holding our breath as they were coming into that turn, but the last thing you would expect is your teammate to have some dramas and have that contact. So, yeah, that's heartbreaking for Down, but also ruins Anderson's lap too.
Yeah, that's both of them done for this, and I think that'll be Anderson done, because he's got to come around. He's a long way behind where Down is. Down may be able to squeak another lap in, but Anderson is a long way behind all of these guys. A lot of damage to some of the other cars as well, so most probably some pushing and shoving going on. Here comes the train. They look like they've gotten through it. Have they gotten through it cleanly enough to get a better lap time? We'll see coming around turns 9 and 10. As I say, it's a big inside front lock from Kostecki. And they're going to pull in the pits. They're just going to abort, come in the pits. That was a late call, though.
Well, that was job done. I think their goal was just to go out there and help Richie. So it'll be interesting to see how far he able to jump up. Hopefully, he didn't make too much dramas. Obviously, they had some traffic to contend with. But I think, that was their goal to help him out. But unfortunately, it didn't work.
So Richie Stanaway currently in provisionally 18th position. That's going to hurt him. That's a lot of work for Stanaway to do in the race. We saw his pace in practice, so he's definitely got it, but he's going to have some work cut out for him. There's a couple of these guys coming out about 1:30, just on roughly 1:35 to go in this session. They're going to be pushing it to get a lap.
Yeah, and like I said, they're going to have to push anyway. So when you push that hard on an outlap, sometimes you do take a little bit of that goodness out of the tyre, but they have to push just to actually, get that time down to actually start their last lap. So they don't have much choice, but they'll have their work cut out for them just to get back to the line.
That's it. No one really lining up the sectors right now. I think that's as well because just the way that was all conjoined, that big train was just got messed up through that whole last sector. A couple of cars off the racetrack, and this is one of the TTR cars. It's Ethan Warren, that's provisional pole sitter. So moving over, looks like his lap is done this time around. So he's just going to bring it back to the pit lane. But at the moment, provisional pole, 50 seconds left. Anderson's off the road as well. Obviously, his lap's aborted. Brad Ryan had an improvement, but nowhere moving up in position-wise. At the moment, it looks like no one really lining up the timing steering.
Yeah, it's coming down to this last 30 seconds now to see who's got what. So yeah, we are looking for these purple sectors. There's a couple of green sectors there for Ben Smith, but it's all coming down to this. This is where it's going to be make or break. The last thing you need is a bad start. The only good thing is it works out for these guys that if you don't have the best of qualifying, you've got 60 laps to make amends for it. So hopefully it's not too much of a drama starting down the back.
You got a long race ahead as it was an improvement for Ben Smith. He did move up a couple of positions. I think it was into roughly around the 21st position. A couple of these cars are boarding their laps, and I think that's it. Checkered flag is out for qualifying for round 3 of the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational. Ethan Warren, currently provisional pole. I don't know anyone else that could beat him. Myers is on a lap. He could be close enough. He's in that final sector. He might be able to have a dig at trying to improve it. But again, look at this traffic for some guys that are on their last lap. Another inside front lock. As we look at Myers, our round 1 winner of what a sensational race it was at Sebring. That looks like that could be just a little bit too wide. He might have got an off track there at the last corner. He comes across the stripe. No improvement from Brady Myers. So that lap would have been off track, and that's that done for him.
Well, no doubt this is going to be something that the teams and the drivers will be talking about. You know, this traffic, obviously, we touched on it. We've seen that it sort of makes and breaks your lap. You know, the heartbreak for TTR where the two cars came together, that obviously didn't play out for him. But no doubt this is something that the teams and the drivers will be mentioning once we speak to them after qualifying.
That's it. They'll be wondering where they could have gone wrong, what they could have done better in qualifying, because it's always that little bit that you need, especially in terms of the toe. But coming around here, Mitchinson, no improvement. Hobson on a lap, using it all the road and more. Will he be able to improve? Down in 27th, Sandman. That's not somewhere you'd expect to see Hobbo as he comes across the stripe. Was that an improvement on his lap time? It wasn't, so he stays 27th. And that looks like it could be done. No one else improving on their lap times. And I think it's going to be Ethan Warren with round 3 pole.
He'd be chuffed with that. Obviously, it's the best place to start. A long race. And, mate, look at those times. Nothing in it between the top 3. Less than a tenth of a second. Brilliant stuff. Warren will be absolutely stoked with that. And bring on the race. 60 laps. I can't wait to see how this all plays out.
60 laps around here is going to be a little bit mental, and it's going to be mentally taxing on these guys as well, bringing up mental fatality in this race. Fortitude, one of the words. I will get there. It's going to be hard. It's 60 laps, roughly about an hour and a half in the car when you add pit stops and all that into the factor of time. It's difficult, and it takes a lot out of you to concentrate for that long. But Ethan Warren, first job done. Pole position here for round 3 of Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational here at the Red Bull Ring. Brody Kostecki and Jared Filsell on 2nd and 3rd, with Andrew Gilliam rounding out the 2nd row of the grid. Anderson down, Gardner, Maloney, Jordan Ross and Ethan Greg Galt round out the top 10. The rest of the field on your screen. A big talk about at the bottom of that screen, Richie Standaway 18th for his first round here. We'll be looking to see how he does. But what a session. Close as we expected. 9 thousandths of a second separating the top 2.
It was an interesting quali session. I'm looking forward to seeing how this all plays out. Obviously, the teams will be very mindful of the race distance that we've spoken about. And I'm keen to see how the first half of the race plays out. Is it a slow pace at the start? Do the teams decide to push a little bit, try to make some sort of gap? Because 60 laps around here is no mean feat. So, you know, they have got their work cut out for them. I'm really keen to get the drivers' thoughts on how quali all played out and how they think their race strategy is going to go. I think 60 laps would be a lot of fun, but I think tonight, I think I'm happy and I'm in the comms box.
Yeah, I definitely think I'm happy in the comms box for sure. As we move to our grid walk, as we'll bring in our pole sitter here today for us with Ethan Warren. Ethan, congratulations on pole position here at the Red Bull Ring. How did you feel about that qualifying effort? Should be pretty stoked with that.
Yeah, obviously it's great to finish qualifying pole, first pole in the series, so it's always great. Yeah, it was good to get that. Got a bank of first lap in, so that kind of gave me the upper hand for the whole qualifying session. So I just had to, try and gain as much on each lap as I can after each attempt. So it's good to get pole. Hopefully we can maintain it for the race.
And looking into that race, as you said, you did a really good job in qualifying. Obviously got that banker in, then able to improve a little bit more to get that, to solidify yourself on pole. 60 laps, it's a long race. Do you plan on any type of strategy? Is it going to be just splitting it up with 3 with the way the tyre deck's going to be? How do you feel it's going to be managed for yourself, especially out in front with the draft so strong around here?
Yeah, draft is going to be huge around here, so definitely fuel saving will be a big part. With those guys behind me, or if I'm behind someone. So I'm not sure. We haven't really thought of strategy yet, so we'll just play it out how it goes in the race.
The usual driver comment sitting in there. We haven't thought about strategy. We'll just drive the car and see where we end up. But congratulations on pole position, Ethan, and good luck for the race tonight. And hopefully have a good showing out there.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, that was our pole sitter, Ethan Warren, and next on the line it will be Sandman, and he'll be with Brody Kosecki.
Okay, Brody, you'd be pretty happy with that so far. I saw there was a little bit of teamwork there trying to help you guys move up the grid with the aero. Obviously, that plays a big part, especially around this racetrack with the long straightaways.
Yeah, definitely. The car seems to be pretty hooked up. Unfortunately, didn't get the best of tows, and Ethan nailed his lap there, so congrats to him on pole. And yeah, just trying to help Jared out a little bit. Obviously, I'm not in the running for the championship. There's a few clashes with some real life stuff for me. So just in here trying to have a bit of fun, and it's very, very tight in here. So we'll see this race plays out. Should be a lot of fun and real close.
Now, the thought of 60 laps round here, obviously, Collie started off, you're off the front row. That's not too bad, but 60 laps, you thought about your race pace and how that will plan out so far. I guess everything's a bit of a moving line. You know, you can sort of plan out the best strategy, but in motorsport, it never plays out that way. But how are your thoughts? Do you think about going hard at the start or take it easy because of the 60 lap difference, or you'll just play it by ear?
I'm just going to go as hard as I can, Sandman. I'm sure some of these guys will try save some fuel and whatnot, but I'm just going to have a crack and see what happens. Just play it lap by lap and see what happens.
Mate, love it. Love to hear it. Good to see you on the front row, mate. All the best for the race, and we'll talk to you a little bit later on.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
That was Brody Kosecki, and as I talk, it's bringing in Wayne Burke. And Berkey down in 15th, not the position I think you would have wanted in the qualifying session, especially considering the first 2 rounds and how they went for you. But now, looking into that, how was it? Was it just traffic? Was it a little mistake on your end?
Mostly traffic. It was really hard. I ended up off sequence, which made it very difficult. But yeah, traffic was really difficult with people on out laps, in laps, and everything in between. So we'll see how we go. Hopefully I think the race car is a bit better than 15th, and hopefully we can play some strategy cards to get up there.
I was about to say that usually you guys have a really strong race car. Is that what you're going to try and play? Obviously play that into a main factor and try and benefit, even though you got a poor position, but draft is going to be key here. If you can use that race car, is that what you plan to do, and try and maybe use a little bit of strategy in terms of maybe fuel saving, maybe just a little bit of an undercut here or there, because tyre deck's going to be huge as well?
Yeah, correct. I think fuel saving is going to be pretty big. I think everyone's going to be doing that, which will keep the train sort of together. I think it'll be a 40-car long draft train for a fair while. So yeah, it's just about playing the strategy and getting that stop at the right time and getting track position, I think.
Hopefully you can pull that strategy card off and get yourself further up the grid. We know you should be out there inside that top 10. You've done a good showing so far this season. So good luck today, and hopefully you can have a good race here at the Red Bull Ring.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you. That was Wayne Burke sitting in 15th. And finally, Sandman, you're going to be with Ian Ford, who's down in 20th. And I know he won't be happy with that.
Yeah, no doubt, Ian. Qualifying looked a bit hectic. We saw some people trying alternate strategies as far as, tyres and trying to get out of traffic. How did you find that? Did you get stuck in it? Because we saw a lot of people that had their laps compromised just because of the amount of traffic that people were involved in when they were on alternate strategies.
Oh, it's like I saw a couple of bottlenecks at the last corner, but it's like I just floated around at a big giant empty spot and missed out on a couple of good drafts. And people obviously going too wide at turn one, losing time. So it's like could have been a couple of spots better, but surely we can throw something in the race.
You got 60 laps to do it too. Does that sort of play on your mind a little bit, that distance?
Oh, it's like a mini enduro around here. It's like there's not many corners, but it's an awful lot of work, especially with the draft. It's like everyone's going to be in little battle packs. So it's like, hopefully we can work something out with strategy and bounce ourselves towards the front, because if we get a bit of clear air and can drive away and do consistent times, it should be good.
Now, you speak about clear air too. How important is a draft around here, especially in these races? Are you looking to maybe work with someone and have that draft play a bit of a role for you today, or are you just sort of going to run your own race?
Oh, I would love to run my own race in just a massive gap of clear air, but obviously being in the draft is probably going to be the faster option. So everyone's going to be in battle packs, hopefully sticking together and not doing any silly moves and losing time.
Well, all the best for the race, mate. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. You got yourself in mid-pack. It's not ideal, but no doubt you can work from there. You've got something good to work with and make your way to the front, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it's a great result for you at the end of the night.
Thank you.
Sorry, Sam, I cut you off there at the end, but that was our grid walk there for round 3 of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. And Sam, man, I think we're in for a cracker.
Absolutely. I'm pumped for this race. I'm really keen to see how it's all playing out. I love how Kostecki was like, you know what, I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah.
He knows that, he doesn't have to worry too much about championship points. It's all about helping his teammate, but at the end of the day, having a bit of fun too. So I'm keen to see how hard he goes at the start.
That's it. He's going to be on it as we look at the grid heading into round 3 of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. 60 laps here at the Red Bull Ring. Ethan Warren and Brady Kostecki on that front row of the grid. One strategy up in the air. Kostecki's going for it. Phil Sell third with Gilliam alongside him. Row number 3 with Anderson and Madison down. Griffin Gardner and Jay Maloney on row 4 with Jordan Ross, Ethan Griggolt, and Burton and Hampstead rounding out row number 6. Look further through that field, row number 7, Brady Myers, Dylan Rudd, Wayne Burke, Tom Freer with Kobe Jones, and Richie Stanaway with Lee Ellis and Ian Ford rounding out the top 20. The rest of the field on your screen. And I think it's just going to be one of those things. Does Kostecki try and get the jump on him into turn 1? We know he's going to go for it. Does he make the move early and then push?
I guess it all comes down to the start, doesn't it? What sort of start he gets, how much traction he gets compared to everyone else around him, whether you make that dive at the start. Because 60 laps is a long race, and the last thing you want to do is take yourself out of contention at turn 1.
That's the last thing he wants to do, and especially, even though he says he's not in points championship factor, he'll still be wanting to do a good job for Phil Sell, his teammate. He doesn't want to make a mistake. He doesn't want to ruin that for him. So Ethan Warren's got a lot of work. There's 2 Boost Mobile cars right behind him. I think it's going to add a lot of pressure to see what he can come up with as we're waiting for these guys to get green. Who's your pick, Sam, man?
Oh, mate, that's harder to pick than a broken nose. I got nothing for you. 60 laps too. I mean, there's so many people that you can put down. I'm going to go Phil Sell.
Phil Sell? Oh, I'm actually going to go with a little bit of an outlier here. I'm going to go Gilliam in that 4th position. If he stays there, he could play a little bit of card, especially if these guys start to squabble a little bit too much out in front. But we should be getting ready to go green here anytime soon, as the engines will build, and it will be all down to that front row of Ethan Warren and Brady Kostecki to see what they can do. It's a long race, 60 laps, 2 compulsory pit stops here for the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational for round 3 at the Red Bull Ring. And these guys are still sitting there. We should be getting ready. The Reds are building now for round 3 at the Red Bull Ring. What's happened in the background? There is a car slow, but they're all underway and we're green. Car going to be stopped on the inside. inside. The rest of the field funnels down. Kostecki with the launch, and he's going to get the job done into turn one with a little bit of bump.
Yeah, a little bit of bump there. Curious to find out what happened. Maybe someone started to jump the start and then decided to go against it. But, big contact.
Oh, big wreck.
Huge drama. It's a massive one. It's a big one at the Red Bull Ring, and it's only out of the first corner. Huge damage to a lot of cars, and that is game over for a number of these drivers. Not what you want to see out of the first corner.
Lap 1, boys, that is a safety car. There will be a safety car caught. I saw Burke was involved. That's Harrison coming around. Kostecki got the jump, but it all happened behind him. There was a bunch of cars involved. Turn 1 strikes again. It happened in the, I think it was the German Touring Masters, GT Masters, one of those series where a Mercedes GT3 actually got into the curb and got fired into the inside wall and caused a massive accident. We had a similar thing there, Sam, but everything happened there at the start.
Makes me wonder if it was a bit of a flow-on effect from what we saw at the drop of the green flag.
Yeah.
You know, we saw some dramas back in the grid. I don't know if everyone got away quite well. We're going to check out some of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational replays. Just trying to make
teammates.
Contact there. Oh, you don't want to be in that driver briefing after that. Big hits. Look at that.
A lot of cars scattered. Who's that through the dirt in the Mustang? Managed to hold on to it, but there is a lot of damaged cars. That's a quarter of the field maybe involved in that, Sam.
Yeah, it's big damage to a lot of those cars. You can see some of them haven't even been able to get away. But, man, look at the damage to Wayne Burke.
Yeah,
unbelievable. Wow. That could be 9 over for him. But, yeah, it just looked like maybe they just crowded each other on exit. I'm not quite sure. But, geez, the last thing you want to do is have an incident. But the last thing you really want to do is have an incident between teammates.
Yeah, as we ride on board with Hayden Harrison, just left in it. Oh, he got clipped. Not much you could do. You're just a passenger, and now you're a passenger. His teammate actually made contact with him as he was sitting in the middle of the racetrack. What can you do there? You're trying to avoid a massive accident on the exit of turn 1, and that was it.
Mate, I almost had a Crompton moment of Bathurst. The track is jammed. The track is jammed. Like, look at this. And you can see Brett's just trying to pick his way through it. The smoke clears and the people rejoining the racetrack. Like, heartbreaking stuff. We touched on it. 60 laps. And then for all this to unfold at turn 1, obviously not ideal.
Yeah, not ideal. And there's going to be a bunch of cars. There's a bunch of cars stranded out there at the moment with no engines, nothing. Some cars are already done and out of this race. I know Kobe Jones is stuck out there at the moment. I think Wayne Burke is trundling down towards the second to last corner. So a couple of these guys, as we are under a full safety car, there he is, Burke. He's, I can't believe that. He's just trundling down, and there's not much left in that one. So that's going to be day done for him. That's it.
He's lost a motor there. So unfortunately, we see that car's crabbing too, Ethan. So yeah, just heartbreaking stuff on lap 1. Obviously, no one does it on purpose. It's just an incident. But, man, when the cars are all bunched up like that, it just takes out so many good drivers and innocent bystanders too. You know, they absolutely had nowhere to go. But just trying to see, where's Phil Cell? Phil Cell is not in that lineup. I wonder if he's darted through pit lane.
I'm going to have a look, and some of them may... Yeah, so a couple of them have done pit stops. So as while we were watching all the replays, a couple of cars have actually come down pit lane. So half the field is pitted from 14th on back, have come down pit lane. That's Ethan Warren, Madsen down, Maloney, Ethan Greg Galt, Brady Myers. So a bunch of cars have come down. Phil Sully's down in 22nd. He lost a lot of time. He looks like he has put 4 tyres on that car. So he's put 4 tyres on, a couple of people put a splash of fuel. So that could be another strategy game that we look at later, but he's put himself in a lot of traffic to try and make his way through. So a couple of other people now coming down pit lane as well, or it's just, a couple of cars down pit lane now. So bit of a strategy call already, Sam.
Mate, remember when I said at the start of this race, everyone will have some sort of idea on paper of what their strategy be, and then you could throw it out at turn 1. That's exactly what's happened. Like, you just never know how it's going to play out. Obviously, in an ideal situation, everyone gets through turn 1, gets through turn 2, goes single file, and you can work out your best race strategy. But it only takes 1 or 2 cars to come together, and because the field was so condensed, it just brought in so many other players into that accident. So you feel for them, but this has really turned this race on its head.
Has, and it's put those guys you've got to do 2 compulsory pit stops. So factoring that into this now, you can do 32 laps on a run. So if you do 32 laps and then come in and do 1 more stop from there, you could technically make it to the end without another stop. So they're trying to pull that little bit of a card now. I've done 1, I'm only got to do 1 more.
That's right, and you can see Kostecki's done that too. So Andrew Gilliam's now the leader of the race, and he gets a beautiful look at the back of that safety car. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The 2 compulsories, that's one that they can tick off the list straight away. So now it all comes down to sort of how they can manage their race, their tyres, their fuel, and you know, barring any other incidents with the safety car, we hopefully it won't come down to a fact that it's a time race. So, but that's good. That it gives these guys something to think about and something to plan ahead for the next few laps.
It just added that extra little bit of strategy into this whole race now of factoring in that little bit more. Some people will have gotten their first compulsory pit stop done, others haven't. And going on from that, the tires, they fall off a cliff around lap 25. So trying to do a 32 lap stint, obviously you're going to get a little bit of that back now because obviously you're on the safety car. So roughly 30 laps a stint, those last 6 laps, it's going to be difficult for those guys. So will the 2 tire strategy of maybe splitting this race up 20-20-20, is that going to be good? Let's see. This is a very interesting call from these top 8 that haven't pitted.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the one thing that I think is important with this series, that when you've got team personnel that's part of your team, whether it be, you know, team managers or something like that, they do play a huge role in how these races unfold. So that gives them to something to think about. Obviously, they'll work this race backwards now because of this safety car. They'll know that lap 60 mark. They'll know whether they've had the compulsory pit stop and how many they've got left. But hopefully it won't be too much longer. We'll continue to see the safety car for another lap, but these guys will be itching to go green again. And thankfully, it'll be a little bit single file and hopefully not as chaotic as we've already seen to the start.
Yeah, a little bit chaotic start. I'll just make sure they'll be bunching up this field this time around after that second round of pit stops, just to make sure the field is all in the right zone. Safety car will be in at the end of this lap, so that's a good call. And let's see what we got as we'll go through the current top 10 at the moment. It is Gilliam out in front with Gardner, Ross, Jordan Ross, Tom Freer, Todd Hayne, Chris Coxhead, Brenton Hobson, and Blake Warboys. They haven't pitted. Our pole sitter, Ethan Warren, is down in 9th at the moment with Down, Maloney, Ethan Grigol, and Myers just behind him. So there's a little bit of his strategy at the moment. That's what's happening. Loxton hasn't pitted, but I think he may have got caught out in terms of where he was situated with the way the field played, and he was involved at the back of the field. So another car, but he's not really at the end, at the front of the field. So he may actually get a little bit of in that battle. But Sam, man, now we got to think, will these 8 guys try and just fuel save a little bit? Can they go to the end and or not go to the end, but go to that first pit stop window? It's really thrown a curveball.
Absolutely. You know, it all comes down to, see, I guess, the benefit for these guys now, they know they've got a little bit of clear air. So they'll work with that and see how that pans out for the race. But obviously, if it's starting to hurt them in the long run, they may go out of strategy as well. But I mean, who knows? Are we going to see another safety car? I really didn't think about a safety car coming into this round.
I didn't either.
Turn 1 is a little bit tricky, but I wasn't expecting it, and something that played out in my mind. So we've already seen one. Are we going to see another one? Who knows?
Exactly. I didn't think. It wasn't on my bingo card today of will we see a safety car at the Red Bull Ring. I did not think of that one to put on it, but there it was. It was there. So we'll see whether we get another one. Hopefully we don't. Hopefully we can let this strategy play out, because this is really going to mix it up, especially with some of the faster guys. No credit, no discredit to anyone. Everyone is super quick in this field. Don't get me wrong. Everyone is so fast. It is crazy. I know I could never be up here, and I'm sure Sam Man will say the same thing. But when you mix up this field like this, put a couple of the guys who pitted that second time around on the safety car a little bit further back, you've got a mixed up grid. This is going to set it all alight, and safety cars do breed safety cars. Gilliam now in control, and let's see how he goes on this restart, Sam Man.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't always come down to driver talent. Sometimes you just gel good with a racetrack, and sometimes you don't. So, you know, we don't know what these guys, you know, whether they like this track, whether they don't. But we're all going to see how it unfolds as we are about to start lap 5 of round number 3 here from Red Bull for the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. The track's been cleared up and the guys are going underway.
Gilliam went early. He caught them all sleeping. He did not wait. He wanted to get going himself, and Gardner going to pull away from the field, and it looks like the top 5 have done a pretty good job on that restart. No one doing anything at the back. It looks like just a massive train of supercars down into turn 1 as we restart this race for the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational. Round 3 back underway, and look at this shot. All the cars funneling through as we've Right, one car to the inside, and there's Ethan, one of them, I think it was Ethan Grigol. No, it wasn't. It was one of the other, I think it was Ian Ford, sorry. Looking to the inside, there was 3 wide. Looking further down the field, that's Ethan Warren down the inside of War Boys. He got the job done. Good, clean move.
Absolutely. Now they're just trying to find themselves a little bit of track position, get the elbows out a little bit and get these cars into a bit of a groove now. Obviously, we saw the upset of the start, but Andrew's going, how good's this? You can see the TTR guys just trying to get past War Boys now, so they know that they've got fresh tyres on. They've already ticked the box for one of their compulsory pit stops, and now it's just eyes forward.
I don't actually think these guys have tyres on the car, Sam, and sorry, I think because they've only done a 4.2 pit stop. So that doesn't seem like tyres. That seems like a splash of fuel and go. I think that's why Phil Sell lost so many positions, because he actually put tyres on it. So he's actually a little bit further behind, but a little bit of tyre won't hurt that much. That's why it's a little bit of an odd, not an odd strategy, but fresh tyres are fresh tyres. So, but these guys don't have that. They've just got a little bit of extra fuel and that one tick of compulsory pit stop done.
That's a huge bit too, that one tick. You can forget about that. So that's huge. So smart play up for these guys. Obviously not too much damage with those tyres at the start of the race. So good heads up thinking by the scene.
Yeah, and now Phil Sell is the first car as we ride on board right behind Lee Ellis, hounding the back of that TTR Commodore. He's going to have a look to the inside into turn 1. I'm surprised he's actually going to try and have a look. He's got the job. Oh, I thought Lee Ellis was going to give him the run, but he isn't. He's going to stick there on the outside. Job done, though, for Kostecki, and that's going to actually, I think that's a Hampstead down through the inside, who is missing a boot.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that is, that's going to be tricky for him to deal with throughout the race, whether that's damage from the start of that incident or whether it's just a bit of a glitch, but it looks like that's some damage, unfortunately, but it doesn't look like it's hindering him too much.
Maybe it helped him in the straight line speed. No wing, gone, done, job done. Moved himself up another position as out in front. Gilliam is starting to stretch the leg just a little bit. 7/10 of a second over Gardner, with Jordan Ross right in behind with his teammate Tom Freya behind. As you can see, faintly in that back of that camera was the 2 TTR Commodores that are starting to work their way through the field. They are 7th and 8th. That's Ethan Warren and down as we ride on board with Jordan Ross in that 3rd position.
And the beauty about those guys too is they know that, like we've spoken about it, that they've got one of those compulsories out of the way. They can just take their time. They don't have to be in a rush to get through this field. It's a long way, still a massively long way to go in this race. So they just need to get themselves into a rhythm, get themselves some clear track, and just eyes forward.
That's exactly what they need to do. They're going to be coming up to Chris Coxhead as this big train, and we've mentioned this and a couple of the drivers mentioned it, it's going to be just a massive train of cars. We thought it would be from the opening lap, but that ended up not being the case. It was from lap 5, but we got there in the end. We've now got this massive train, and some of these guys will be fuel saving, and it wouldn't surprise me if Down and Warren just sit there and fuel save as much as they can. Phil Sell, though, he needs to get a move on, and he's done that. As soon as he got around Lee Ellis, he has gone. He gained about 1.5 seconds on Ellis that one lap.
Yeah, now it's eyes forward, trying to get a little bit of toe off Anderson. I know he's still a little bit far back, but there are slight little benefits even though you're that far back. So he will be working on that. He knows he's got good car pace. He was great in qualifying. So, it's now about eyes forward and just seeing. I can see a couple of guys starting to get a little bit racy too, which will work in his favour because that will slowly bring them closer to him in that battle.
Yeah, it's Ethan Grigol with Blake Warboys. They've made contact under braking down into turn 4. Warboys is all the way off in the dirt. He's gonna get the saw. He just kissed the tyre barrier. Should be okay just on that front left of that bumper. Now he's got to watch his rejoin. These guys will know he's coming on. Good job there. He waited. He got it. He kept it as far left as he could. Look at the replay in the bottom left corner. And it was just a little bit of contact, Sam, man. They just got a little bit too close on the braking.
Yeah, I was going to say, look like a little bit of crowding there. He's on the ribble strip. He can't go any further over. So I think, unfortunately, the stewards are going to have a look at that. And, I think it's just bad and hard luck for Blake. There's nothing more he could do. He was on the ribble strip. There's not much more real estate he could have given up. So I reckon there might be a little call from the stewards to say something about that.
There might be a little bit as Ethan Warren all over the back of Chris Coxhead. Will he have a look down into turn 1? No, he's going to wait to get the draft down into turn 3. And that's what I was thinking Phil Sell might have done the last time around, but he didn't. Now he's going to have a look and get the toe and going to have a big look down into turn number 3. He's going to have a look to the inside, and he should be able to get this one job done. I don't think Chris Coxhead's going to fight him too hard, but good move, and we'll down follow him through.
Yeah, it looks like, I don't know if Chris has got some damage here. You can see
Yeah,
the left side of that car's caved in. So, yeah, that's probably not helping a little bit, but he'll be like, all right, let these guys go through, and then he might even just tuck in behind them and just try and stick with them a little bit. So, looks like that's what he's going to do. He's going to be on the outside, and that's exactly what he does. So, good, smart heads-up racing.
Very smart heads-up racing. Feathered the throttle, rolled out of it, let the boys go. He knows he can just tag onto the back and let them bring himself up to the front, save a little bit of fuel behind them. Anderson's at the back of this train as Phil Sell is closing down to the back. He is pushing hard to try and get back up to this train of cars in front of him. He's got a little bit of a gap back to Richard Hampstead right now, but Gilliam's still out in front with Gardner, Ross and Freya with Hayne. That top 5, and they're sort of in their own little battle at the moment. Good gap between them all, just floating around in this top 5.
Absolutely. It's just about running their own strategy now. So they know that they don't have to worry about it. It's good that they're not pressuring each other too much. They know it's a long way to go, and you don't want to wear yourself out in the first 10 or 20 laps, because then you've got nothing for the rest of the race. So regardless of what, if you've got a decent car underneath you, if you're tired at the end of it, because the last thing you want to do is keep punching out decent laps. So these guys are good. They're just hitting their marks and staying out of trouble and thinking about their race pace.
That's right. And one of those things you don't want to be doing is wearing yourself out mentally straight away. It's going to be tough here as riding on board, looking at Brenton Hobson right now behind Chris Coxhead. He's going to have a little look from Maloney, and as I say, it's a bit of a look. That's a move down the inside. He's going to get the door. He's going to look for the better exit. Hobson's not going to give this. Oh, he got on the rumble strip and it lit the rear tyres up out of turn 3, and he lost that drive that he had. He had initial bite, lit the rear tyres up, lost the ground, and Maloney's going to take that position.
You can see as soon as he touched that little bit of yellow strip that was on the exit of that, climbed the curb, and you can see it upset the car a little bit and lost that little bit of forward traction. So gave up the spot, but no big deal at the moment.
Stanaway did a good move down into turn 4 on Lee Ellis as he moves himself up another position, as Ford's going to have a look around the outside of Ellis through turn 6. That's not where you really want to be on the outside, because you can just get fed that little bit too wide. His good thing is he's got his teammate behind him. He'll let him join back in at Brad Ryan and float there with there's Brody Kostecki behind him as well.
How good is that when you're a race driver and you make a move and you think, oh my goodness, there's someone sticking their nose, but it's a teammate, so he might let me in. So that's always good as a driver.
Yeah, it's always nice knowing, oh, yep, he might be all right. He's not going to pressure me too much. I can just relax a little bit as we get on the drone cam. Gilliam out in front as we start lap 10 of this race. Still 50 laps to go, and we've already had a race full of action in the first 10 laps. It's, just typical racing here in Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational. Gilliam with a good gap at the moment, but Gardner is doing a really good job. It sounds like there could be a penalty there for, I think it was the 177, which was the Ethan Crickholt, which I'm not surprised by that. There definitely was a little bit of contact and a little bit of crowding, as there was nowhere for Blake Warboys to go.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw just how much of the racetrack that he was on. Now, these guys look like they're battling it out a little bit too. Yeah. I love this part of the racetrack where they sort of start to fan out and they get a little bit side by side and think about diving up the inside. And that's exactly what Phil Sell's going to do. So he's caught the end of the back of that cool drive car of Anderson, but now he's got the job done. So it's eyes forward for Phil Sell.
Done a good job to reel in that gap. As soon as when you think about it, we were only saying he passed Lee Ellis not long ago, so he is pulled away from Lee Ellis and has done a really good job now to move himself up a couple of tenths, 5 tenths on lap 7, another 3 the next time. So he's moved himself up into this train, as Chris Cox said, sort of not the bottleneck. I think the damage is hurting him just that little bit, but he's been able to sort of get onto the back of these two in front of him, of the 2 TTR cars, and just try to keep himself in that position.
The beauty that I loved about that overhead shot that we saw there is that Phil Sell is not too far behind Down and Warren. We saw that they made that advantage by going the shorter pit stop, but Phil Sell's just like, what, doesn't matter. He's just focused eyes forward, and he's just picking them off one at a time and doing a great job.
I think Down and Ethan are another 4 seconds up the road. So he's done a good job to get there, because this is riding on board with Chris Coxhead, and that's going to be Hobson looking to the inside, down through turn 2, which is not really much of a turn, but it's a turn. Turn 2 into turn 3, hard on the brakes, going to get the job done. Oh, Anderson with an inside front lock. He's going to pull the car up, as Phil Sell's going to have a look down the inside of Coxhead 2, who does the same thing. We said that about what Hobson did the last time around. Got on that yellow curb, lost the drive, and is going to have to pull him behind.
It's easy to be armchair experts in it and say, oh, no, don't worry about that. Just get the foot down, put the power down. But it's not as easy as that sometimes, but doing a great job. I love how to see how this is playing out. You know, we've talked about the different strategies, the start of the race, that threw a spanner in the works, but look at these guys still making moves down the back of the pack. Ian Ford getting the job done. And I just love that throughout the field, up and down the grid, there's always action going on.
There is always battles in this series, whether it's for P number 1 or it's for P number 20. There is always fights throughout, as Fordy's going to stick in behind and just wait another lap. He'll get Boyd that next time around. Looks like he's got a little bit better car speed at the moment, been improving and closing on Boyd the last couple of gained a second last time around. So Ford's really been on a march. Maybe Boyd's had a little bit of a couple of mistakes that's cost him some time, but Ford looking to make up some ground.
Yeah, I think he might take it easy through this section of the racetrack, maybe set himself up for that big long straightaway. See what sort of run he can get out of turn 1 and hopefully to capitalise on that draft. But as I say, that it looks like he's still sitting pretty. I think he'll be easy into turn 1, or will he dive? Look like he's going to make a liar out of me. No, he's going to sit, so that's all right. He'll think about this draft now down this long straightaway.
Yeah, he'll think about having a look with Brad Ryan, his teammate's actually going to be giving Boyd a little bit more of a draft too. So that little bit of a benefit that you could have, even though he's so close to the car in front, it all basically nullifies itself because he's getting a little bit of toe. Now he's going to have a look to the inside, just shows the nose of the Logitech G Evolution Racing Team Commodore, and then pulls it back in behind. But Gilliam out in front. That gap's come down. Gardner only half a second there, and he's brought the 2 SSR cars of Ross and Freya behind.
Absolutely, starting to have a little bit of a, I guess in Formula 1 they call it the old DRS train, so that's what these guys have got going on. So, and it's slowly bringing in the next pack of cars too. Oh, it looks like he's going to run a little bit wide. Oh, he didn't touch off the road, so that's all right. That was Hayne. So, looks like he's just hold on. Yep. Thankfully, it's hard when you get through that part of the racetrack because the car wants to push, but there's so much gravel on the outside.
Yeah, he was pushing, and then he was like, I got a little bit of run, gave Warren a little bit of a bump, off you go, and got the job done. It's down, moves himself through up another position as well. So these 2 TTR Commodores just moving themselves up through the field right now. Warren, obviously the poles that are down, going with him, and now they're the first guys who have done 1 stop. Obviously Hayne hasn't finished the stop. He was one of those guys that stayed out under that first safety car. The next car after that is Hobson, but Myers, Maloney, Philsell all with 1 compulsory pit stop done. For the top 4, no pit stops yet as well. They're only 3.6 seconds behind. I feel like that pit stop was crucial for those guys.
Safety car. Absolutely, yes.
Safety car. Sorry to cut
car.
you off. There is a safety car. So we spoke about it. Will there be another one? But we do. We have a safety car, and that is Jamie Dyke off the racetrack. He's got it. Yeah, a lot of damage. So maybe he couldn't get it going. Maybe he had the car stalled, had to try and refire it. Safety car was called, but he's got it going again. So that's going to nullify the field and bring them more close back together, but he's got it back running again. We'll have a look at the replay. Oh, he got hurt.
Yeah, that's an odd part of, to be facing in that direction. You either got the right rear off into the dirt or you had a little bit of help. So, that's close.
I think he may have already been losing it at that point. And I think it was Josh Thomas who just came through and gave him a little bit of a helping hand. That's what it looks like. We'll have a little bit of a... Yeah, he's ran wide, and that's all it took. He ran that little bit wide, and as you can see, he's off that racing line, and there it was. It was just enough that it threw him off, and then a little bit of help from behind. Not much you can do behind. There's a spinning car in front. You try and you can't stop that quick and not make contact, so he's done a good job. But that's Dyke around, and second safety car of the evening.
Yeah, now it'll be interesting to see. So obviously the front runners that hadn't made their pit stop, they've all dived into pit lane to tick that box.
Yep.
Surprised that maybe TTR and the others didn't roll the dice and possibly just get that mandatory stop out of the way. But they obviously know they've got a game plan to think about. They know that they're on target, but they were doing great catching up the front of the field and already got one of their compulsories out of the way. But surprised that they didn't think about just marking compulsory number 2 off. But anyway, nevertheless.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those things to see what these guys do. There's a little bit of chatter going on in the race, which I'm just going to keep my ear out to, Sam. I don't know whether you caught the end of that conversation that was going on between some of the drivers right now, but we'll see what happens in that department later on. But these guys right now, Warren retakes the lead. Those guys, like you said, stayed out, now getting their pit stop, and it's a free pit stop for them, Sam, man. And now they actually have less on the tyres. I think it actually plays into the hand of those 8 that stayed out.
Yeah, absolutely. They'd be licking their lips when they heard that safety car get called, and we touched on that. You know, we weren't sure whether we'd see another safety car. We'd already seen one, so this has worked out nicely for them. And that's the beauty about motor racing, that plans never go to plan. You know, they can always backfire, and we've already seen what 2 safety cars in the first 13 or 14 laps of this race. Who would have said that?
Yeah, like I said, wasn't even on my bingo card, let alone 2. So I don't know where they pulled these safety cars from, but we've got safety cars here at the Red Bull Ring. And at the moment, Warren and Down leading that train. The rest of the field now coming to catch the end of that train after their pit stop cycle. But yeah, I am a little bit surprised, like you said, that these guys didn't come down pit road. Obviously, you can't make it from here, so technically it's not worth it to try and get track position. But they're on, what, 14 lap old tyres, some of them? Yeah.
And I like the idea of just getting that mandatory stops out of the way, because then you can just do whatever you like. You know, you can run as long as you want. Obviously, a tank of fuel is going to probably limit that. But I mean, you know, you've got a different strategy to think about, and you don't have to worry about ticking those mandatory boxes. So interesting. But I think TTR have won a couple of races between them all, so they probably do know what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm sitting here, I haven't won a thing, so who knows what these guys, they've got a lot more talent than me in these cars, so definitely know what they're going on about with this stuff. So I'm sure they will be fine, and I'm sure the Roxana will be certainly figuring out what strategy these guys are going to run. Just throws another curveball that I wasn't expecting for tonight, and here we are again, and we've still got 45 laps to go. Man, we're in for a long one here.
I love it. I was already pumped for Red Bull Ring, but now that we've seen the inclusion of a safety car a couple of times, I'm keen to see how this all plays out. Obviously, people are starting to think about their strategy and what the ideal scenario is. We talk about the tyre drop off. You know, it's sort of around that lap 25 that the tyres start to fall off a little bit of a cliff. So it's all about tyre management and getting themselves into the end of the race. And like I said, a lot of the teams, they will be working this race backwards now, just thinking about that lap 60 and then thinking about what else they have to tick off to make it to the end.
Well, that's right. So you're looking at about 45 laps now for these guys that have just pitted. So when you think about it, 22 odd laps for a stint, that's under what we got told in terms of the tyre fall off, Sandman. So they could actually be in a really good position. Safety car will be in at the end of this lap, so we'll get back to green racing here very shortly for round 3 of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational from the Red Bull Ring. And we've had it all so far, and Warren and Down out in front, the 2 pace setters, I feel like, through that sort of first stint of the race, Sam, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, they were pacey. We saw how quick they were just in practice and quali as well. So now they've got clear track. They can just work together about just trying to gap the rest of the field and then thinking about obviously when they're going to make that next pit stop. So love how the different strategies are all throughout the field. The field is absolutely jumbled up. We didn't expect to see some of the drivers where they are and where they were sitting. And unfortunately, some people are sitting on the sidelines. But it all comes down to the restart now after 15 laps before we get to the end of this one. Just like you said, still a long way to go.
Very long way to go as Warren has control of the field. They have to be single file. Warren is in control. Obviously no sudden accelerating, no braking. He's just in control. Now it is all up to him as the safety car is in the lane. So he now has full control. He can go when he wants. He can not go when he wants to. So he's sitting there, and I'm sure he'll choreograph this with Down. And as I say that, off they go. And they actually choreographed it with Myers as well, because he looked like he got a better jump than Hayne in P number 3. So he might be setting up a run as we're back green under here on lap number 16 here at the Red Bull Ring. And it is all clear out as they use all the road and a little bit more coming out at the final corner.
I love that shot, seeing these guys getting their foot back into it as the race goes green. Now these guys look to turn number 1. Looks like no one's doing anything silly at the moment. Nice single file. They're all thinking about, a little bit of a move there, one of the TTR cars. So, but what they're thinking about now, look, Stanaway's got that huge run now. He's going to get a bit of a draft too from that TTR Mustang in front of him, and he may even think about a dive up the inside.
He's going to have a look, and as I say that, Myers is having a look on Hayne for P number 3. It looks like he may have got that job done, but as I say that, Hayne's retaken it. Good move there from Stenaway. He's actually going to have a look at Hampstead too, who is still missing that rear wing, so that's definitely a little bit of damage as he covers the nose of Richie Stanaway. Let's see if he has a look to the inside. He doesn't. so far. I think he did in the background just at the top of the shot. That was actually a block from Hamster. Inside front lock. It looked like a little bit of a brake lock. Got the car, couldn't get the car stopped. Stand way through.
Yeah, I wonder if that's got anything to do with that damage. Obviously, these cars aren't too much fun when they got damage, and you can see that there's a few of them carrying a lot of battle wounds at the start of this race, but not having that rear wing wouldn't be too much fun.
It wouldn't be fun. It might be a straight line weapon, but I think at the moment, everywhere through that infield, you would be like, I want my rear wing back, please, can someone find it? So he'll be, Hamster will be up a little bit of struggle street, but right now, TTR 1, 2, 3. I don't know how many times we've said that, and I don't know how many times that's been said in various Supercar championships, but right now, Warren out in front, down in second with Myers in third, and Myers has a little bit of a DRS train on this restart behind him.
Yeah, it'll work out nicely for him too, but obviously he's got that clear track in front of him. He will keep an eye on, but then he's got another TTR teammate too that's not too far behind. So these guys will obviously be all working together. They know that they'll have their strategy all played out, but they'll all be in comms between each other and working out this race together. So they know what each other will be thinking, and you can see, trying to dive up there, I didn't see quite who that was, but I do love this braking zone, this uphill braking zone where these guys have got to turn it in. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's an awesome part of the racetrack. Obviously, we've seen massive accidents in MotoGP there, and a couple of iffy bargy, I'm going to run you all the way out of the racetrack in F1. So we see it all the time. Maloney gets the job done on Todd Hayne. He was having a look. That's at turn 3, but now he's got the job done at turn 4 to move himself up into P number 4, as that is Ethan Grigault now on the back of Todd Hayne, trying to see if he can get that position as well. Hayne's got just a bit of a traffic jam behind him, and they're all trying to make his way past.
He's doing a pretty good job at the moment, isn't he? He's just holding on. He knows he's got these guys around him. He's not making any mistakes, but I think he knows that when someone's sort of making a move or a dive up the inside, he just gives him a little bit of real estate. He knows that he's just got to think, he's grabbed a lot of curb there. That was a nice line. But, I thought it looked like for one stage he was going to go for the pits, but obviously not. So he's in a good spot at the moment. He just needs to see who he's racing around with him and just think about his strategy himself.
Yeah, well, he's up 17 spots at the moment from where he qualified, so he'll be happy with that, but he hasn't stopped. He's one of the only cars to have not come down and served a compulsory pit stop. Actually, he's the only car that hasn't come down that actually ticked one of those compulsory pit stops, so he's very much off sequence right now, and these guys will know that. Everyone will know that he hasn't stopped yet, so he was just getting in there, and the guys are sort of eager to get around him in a sense to try and keep up with these guys out in front. As they have gone, Warren and Down have gone, and as I say that, it looked like Ethan Grigault did make a move, Sandman, on Todd Hayne.
Yeah, he's going to struggle with his tyres. Obviously, his tyres are still from the start of this race, so 18 laps old, and then the guys around him probably got fresher sets of tyres, so he's a little bit on struggle streak, but still got his 2 compulsories to think about.
Yeah, that's right. He's got his compulsory tyres stop to think about. As out in front, these top 4, Warren Down with Myers, but this battle pack as Anderson. Was that around the outside? If that was a really good move to get the job done on Hayne. Or if Hayne just rolled him out, thinking better, no need to fight these guys. He's just got to run his own race. He knows he's out of sequence with these guys. We'll have a look at Anderson, whether this was a move. It was. He's got the job done. Did Hayne? No, he's just driven around the outside. Nice. Good move from Anderson. Got the job done.
It was a good move. It was a cool drive.
Oh. There it is. There's the first one for Sandman for tonight. I like that one. That was good. I'll pay that. So Anderson moved himself up in that cool drive racing entry into P number 6 in front of Todd Hayne, and Burton behind as well. So the first guy on that sort of just came down pit road under that second safety car, was Andrew Gilliam. So he's actually on the freshest rubber in the field. He is in P9 at the moment, in front of Jared Filson.
A little bit of move up the inside too. Is that Burton? So it looks like he's going to get the job done. Oh, a little bit of contact on exit. So side by side. Oh, more argy-bargy too. They're not giving up. I thought it was just a little bit on exit, but it looks like they was trying to carry that out. They're thinking about a move 3 wide now. The last thing you need is contact. So Burton is going to stick it up the inside. But oh, look at it. 3 wide into the turn. No way.
Gilliam thought, I'm going to take both of you right now. Hayne rejoins a little bit further back. He's got a little bit of contact from Gardner. He got Burton still having a look to the inside. Is he going to show the nose into turn number 6? He does. He's going to keep the nose down. Look at Phil Self. Look at Phil Fuel Cell down the inside. He's going to be like, yep, I want this. And gonna get, Gilliam, fresher tyres on the outside. Fuel Cell contact. And now they all just funnel through it. And Haynes just come back through. And look at that, couple of positions lost from Jared Fuel Cell. He won't be happy with that.
Yeah, he got swamped, that little bit of contact to the right front wheel, but now he's going to think about a move up the inside. This is hold your breath stuff into the final turn. Oh, a little bit of contact. These guys are still staying straight, but wow, look at the racing back here. Phil Cell's got his work cut out for him.
They all know they need to start making moves as soon as that. All the way to the inside, that was Tom Freer and Griffin. Gardner using all the way out to the wall. Phil Cell down the inside. Kostecki going to actually capitalise on the poor run. A car was sideways off of the curb. Here comes Standaway. There's a car in the background. A TTR car's got to slow down. Looks like Hampstead's slowing down a little bit. Got a poor exit. And Richie Standaway pushing. Hobson. Oh, they need it.
I thought it was going to be 3 wide for a second. I was holding my breath. I was like, no way. They're not going to do it, surely.
Oh, these guys are pushing hard. They know. And what I was trying to get to, these guys are the first guys that have done on the recent pit stop. So a lot of these guys will have 4 fresh tyres. And others, as here comes Standaway. Big move down to the inside into turn number 4. Got the job done. Really clean pass from Richie Standaway.
Good driving there. Love to see these battles out up and down the field. This is really good. They know it's probably it's lap 20 at the moment, so still a decent race in front of them to go, but they know that when they get that opportunity, they don't want to give up too much on it. If they can make that position and get it done, that's one less thing they have to think about as the laps go on. You know, you obviously want clear track around you, but boy, they're racing hard.
Racing really, really hard. A little bit harder than I thought they were going to be at this point. Here comes Gillian with Burton. Burton is on older rubber. Gilliam has 10 to 13 lap fresher tyres on this car. So Gilliam's going to be all over the back of Burton with the fresh tyre. And there's the lights, flashing the light. He knows he's quicker. He's pushing. He is making Burton know he is there. I want to get past you because I got the rubber to burn.
So what does Burton think? Does he look at his mirrors and go, well, that's all right, you've got fresh tyres, but I ain't going to make it easy for you. But you can see he's keen. He's flashing the tyre. He'll flashing the lights, I should say. He's got the fresher tyres. He'll think about a move up the inside here. Yes, no, yes, he will.
Yeah, he's got to. He has to get this job done. He just needs to make the move, but there's not going to be a lot of room on the left as they go side by side. Coming out of turn number 3, they're going to run it all the way down to turn 4. Gilliam will have the inside line. If I was Burton, I'd just feather the throttle and let him go, but we know how hard Burton races. He's not going to do that, but I think he has. He's going to sit in behind, let Gilliam bring him to the field in front.
Absolutely. Just let him run. He's got fresher tyres. There's no worth not worth getting involved in a little incident. So that was good heads-up driving by Burton, although I don't think he had too much say in it. Once he got the job and the position done, that was all over.
It definitely was all done, and he just has to sort of bite the bullet and stay behind. As we look at Sebastian Loxton, they've got a lot of damage back here. I think it's Adam Hayne behind as well. So a lot of damage on these cars. Chris Toxted was running it further up the field earlier on, but he has pitted to get one of his stops out of the way. A lot of the cars, to be fair, came down under that second pit stop. But right now, Warren down, Myers out in front, and Maloney sort of caught up to the back of him, about 1 second off the back of, off third of Myers, and he is currently just going to sit there and gain a little bit of draft advantage, but not right in the dirty air.
Absolutely, and when we talk about, the race distance and saving fuel is possibly something they could think about just to stretch these pit stops out. And when you're behind someone like that, it's easy to save fuel. We talk about the numbers that they meet per lap when they're pushing on a fast lap, but saving fuel and rolling out of the throttle, they've got a little bit of a TTR train, and that can be crucial as way the strategy plays out as this race goes on.
That's a move from Standaway. Looks like he's going to have a look down the inside of Brenton Hobson. Job done. He's going to get that. And further back, it looked like Coxhead and Boyd were going side by side as well. They'll have a great look down the down all the way through down turn 3, all the way through turn 2 and 1. It's this big battle pack. It's always lining up, isn't it? It's one of those crazy battles that we've got through the field of all these different strategies, Sam. And again, it's we don't even know how this is going to play out. Some people have still got, I think everyone's still going to pit once. We know that. You only got 32 laps maximum out of the stint. But some of these guys on the older tyres are really starting to struggle compared to those guys who pitted under the second safety car.
That's it, and we spoke about it earlier. new tyres are always your best friend. So it's never much fun when you're on struggle street, when you're rolling around there on a set of tyres that aren't too happy. But, you know, at the end of the day, you've got to think about how your strategy is going to play out to give you the best obviously the best result to the end of the race. But these guys are a little bit racy, and you can see Burton's now got a little bit of pressure. Phil Cell now, he's caught back up, and it looks like he's going to make a move to the inside.
So Phil Cell going to have a look to the inside down into turn number 1. He's going to have a look. He break that touch a little bit later than Burton. Job done at the exit of turn 1 as Burton used a lot of curve and a little bit more than I think he wanted. That could open the door up to Jordan Ross behind, and the SSR Mustang, he might be able to have a look as we look a little bit further back behind as well. Standaway with a bit of a run out of there, but here it is, Jordan Ross down the inside of Burton. Will he get the job done? I think well, maybe not, but he has fresher rubber, so Ross should be able to just drive off that corner and get the position.
Yeah, track position's key, especially he's got the inside there. And Burton will be looking in his mirrors now because you can see Kostecki will be thinking about lining up too. So if Burton's held a little bit wide, yep, Kostecki will start thinking about putting the nose up the inside here, and that fresher rubber for Kostecki will leave Burton a little bit tricky there for his run. But now Burton's going to be on the right side of the racetrack now as we turn. Oh, Kostecki dives! Nice little crossover there from Kostecki. I was going to say, oh, there's contact too between Kostecki and Burton. I was about to say that Burton was on the right side of the racetrack because he had the inside, but Kostecki said, forget that, I'm going to throw it up the inside and take that position away. Brilliant.
He was like, you're going to cover? Okay, fine, I'm going to dive it down the inside and I'll take that position one way or another. It was a brilliant move from Kostecki. He set it up, he saw it, it was on the inside, he knew, okay, I'm going to be stuck out wide here, there's no point trying it, dives it down to the inside. Good switch move, caught him by surprise. I think Burton was so far wide, he was like, I'm going to get back to the racing line to try and maybe put a squeeze on. Realised there was a car and he fell in that hole. Kostecki, job done, moves himself up into P10, and with that, I think we should crack it up for a lap in a bit and listen to these supercars as we listen to the guys out in front, the TTR Commodores. love the sound of the Supercars. It's one of the cars down to the inside into the pit lane. That looked like Brad Ryan going to come down and get his second compulsory pit stop there, man. That was a dicey pit entry, as we should call it, but awesome sound listening to these cars around here at the Red Bull Ring. Such a different note to listen to, especially when you're so used to either a bike or an F1 car around here.
Absolutely. I'm stoked to have this series racing here at the Red Bull Ring. It's such a great racetrack. I've spoken about how much I enjoy it from the start, but it's good to see these guys running, and how good would it be to be in the TTR stable at the moment? They're all just sort of cruising around, hitting their marks. They're obviously talking between each other, and they're not doing silly dive bomb moves on each other, and they're just slowly starting to open up the gap over the rest of the field.
That's right. It was actually good just to sit there and watch what they were doing without us talking over the top of them. Just to see how they were managing that race room out in front. They're doing a really good job. The issue is now, I feel, that down Ed Myers might have, or Myers especially, looks like he has a little bit better car speed. I don't know whether that's... I definitely looked like they were closing up a little bit, very much an accordion effect, because now Maloney's a lot closer too. So I don't know whether it's just who's managing, who's fuel saving a little bit more. We know how good, obviously, Ethan Warren is. You can't just qualify and pole in the series without being fast. So I'm not saying they're not, but it's just the different strategies that these guys are playing at the moment with their fuel game.
Absolutely, and that's something they'll be conscious about. You know, I've been lucky to be in the inner sanctum of TTR, and I know that these guys know how each other race, and there's no big heads as far as, you know, if someone feels that they're a little bit faster and it's just going to slow the train up, they will make those changes and they will swap the positions around a little bit. So as we see, look at Andrew now, he's making that change on the fresh tyres and he's all over the back of Anderson now.
He's going to have a look now. Obviously, cool drive entry of Josh Anderson, sorry, but he's still definitely part of that TTR stable. But down the inside goes Gilliam, fresh rubber, going to get the job done, and that's going to move himself up into P number 6. And this is the thing as well, Sam, man. Like we said, Gilliam is the leading car from that second round of pit stops on lap 13. Now these guys in front all on old tyres. We said about the tyre drop-off, it is now. This is that tyre drop-off, lap 27. We said roughly around 25 laps, give or take a couple, because they spent a couple on the safety car in that first stint. So these guys will be starting to feel that tyres and maybe look at the pit stop window opening soon.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm curious about, actually, to see how far they go, because yeah, we all know that everyone's going to pit again, and it's all about how they decide, you know, how and when that they want these pit stops to take place. So, do we have another safety car? We've already seen 2. You know, that's been an eye opener for this race so far. We didn't expect that coming into round 3. So, and I love that strategy's all mixed up through the field. It's not just a boring old race. Yep, you know, we'll go to the first pit stop, we'll make a stop, we'll come to the next stop. You know, it's all jumbled up a little bit, and that's what's great about this series.
Yeah, this series has really livened it up with the safety cars, the inclusion of those safety cars, and obviously manual safety car, not iRacing given safety cars. So it just adds that extra bit of element that these guys weren't expecting. I wasn't expecting. I'm sure you weren't either, Steven. So we're all in the same boat here tonight of what happened with this race. And Warren down and Myers and Maloney are like, well, we're out in front and we're just going to sit there at the moment. And Hampstead's still missing a boot at the back of this train. He is slowly just trying to see if he can hold him down as Phil Sell and Anderson going at it.
Yeah, it looks like Kostecki's going to join him too. So these guys have, Kostecki and Phil Sell found each other again, and looks like he's going to try and think about a move up the inside of Anderson. He'll get the job done, pulls up side by side. Nice clear move and smart heads up racing by Anderson, just giving him plenty of room on the exit.
Yeah, he didn't need to try anything done silly there to try and do the move, and Anderson just rolled out, out. Yep. There was no need to try and make something out of nothing there, and he done a good job. Rolled out and going to sit in behind. He knows those guys are on pressure tyres. He just needs to sit there and just let them fully belong.
Absolutely. You end up doing yourself more harm than good when you try and battle people around you that are on different strategies. You know, you end up making mistakes, you go in too deep, you run off wide, and that throws your race. So the best thing you can do is just move over, breathe the throttle for a second or two, give them position, and just push on with your own race.
That's exactly what he did, and he did it perfectly. Right spot, right time to move himself behind. He didn't lose anything. He still covered off Jordan Ross behind and was able to comfortably get that position. With Gilliam now having a look at the last lap time. So Warren and them out in front, 31.4, 31.3, 31.3, and 31.3. That's the top 4 for Greg Galt with a 31.3 as well. Andrew Gilliam was a 31.2, so only a couple of tenths gain from Gilliam. So these guys out in front, they've actually done a really good job in terms of time, in terms of pace. As Madison Down goes to the point, he's out in front as they switch positions, and he's going to now lead a couple of laps.
Yeah, it's exactly what I touched on just a couple of laps ago, that these guys in the team will talk about who do they think is faster, and if they need to shuffle the positions around, they'll do that for the sake of the team. It's really good to see such good teamwork within TTR.
Yeah, they've done a good job of that too. Didn't lose much time, just easy switch of positions, got the job done. As Freer and Hobson having a little battle here. This is just for outside the top 10 in P number 14 and 15. Hempstead, the watching brief at the moment, and he's beaten up Mustang. And guys just floating around, they're sort of behind Richie Stanaway, just seeing if he can maybe pull them along. They've got about a 2-second gap to try and find to Burton in front of them, who was just sort of in no man's land at the moment, about 1 second off from everyone else as we look a little bit further back, as the boys are all in their sort of strategy game right now, aren't they, Sam, man? They're all just trying to play out this end of this, I don't know whether you call it first stint, second stint, third stint. One of the end of this first portion of the race, and we're just coming on to halfway distance. They've just started lap 30, so halfway through this race, and the strategy's still wide open.
Absolutely, and these teams do get to a bit of a lull sometimes during these races because they know where they're at with their strategy. They know how many more laps they're going to go before they start thinking about a pit stop. They think about who the drivers are around them, whether they need to get past the car in front or whether they can let the guy behind them pass. But you know, you can see Lee Ellis now, he's thinking about a move. He's got a bit of a toe here. He's obviously thinking about strategies. Other TTR teammates are well up the road. He's not having the best of nights, but he's got his own little battle going on, and he'll think about, you know, positions where he has to have, you know, making moves on cars around him, but also taking into consideration when his next pit stop is.
It looked like he was just pushing Blake Warboys through that corner. Then he was, don't need to overtake, I'm just going to push you through turn number 3, and that's what he did. As right now, these guys battling for P number 20. Will he have a look to the inside? No, he doesn't, just sitting in behind. So a little bit of fuel strategy game as well. Just be rolling around, saving what he needs to. There's no need to push at this stage as we look at that pit stop strategy, the length, and where everyone is at the moment. These guys were the top 5, all pitted under that first safety car. You can see Gilliam, Phil Sell, Kostecki. Actually, Gilliam pitted under the second safety car, Phil Sell, and Kostecki pitted under both of them. So that's another strategy call. They will have a little bit of extra fuel in the tank, and it could be why they've pushed themselves up a little bit further. Not compared to Gilliam, but they would have had a little bit extra in that pit stop cycle that actually saw them improve their positions under that second safety car.
I'm intrigued by this train at the front. You know, all these guys know that they're all keen and hungry to get the win. They're all capable of getting the win, but at the moment they're just sitting. So they're just letting the race play out. Like I said, we've just gone halfway. Still 30 odd laps or 29 laps to go. So decent amount of race to go. Still plenty of strategy involved, and mixed strategies all the way up and down the field as far as who's done 1 stop, who's done 2 stops.
As we look at this, I love this corner. This corner is an awesome uphill, hard braking. Then you got the tight, I think one of the tightest hairpins we're going to go to this season. Sebring was obviously a little bit wider in terms of their hairpin there. So I think this will be one of the tightest corners that we will be visiting as we go looking further back. Stanaway with Freer now looking to the inside. This is P number 13, and he's going to get that job done and moves himself up another position.
Good little battle. Be interesting to see how Stanaway's finding it so far. Obviously didn't get the best qualifying run that he would have liked, but finds himself mid-pack. He's still got a lot of the race to play out. A little bit of damage down the left side of that Mustang, but I wondered in those replays in that first lap accident if that might have been him that was charging through the grass and trying to miss all that rack. We didn't quite see that, but yeah, it was interesting, but he's obviously got his work out for him. I reckon he'd be having a good time too.
I reckon he'd be enjoying it. It'd be good just to get himself back into that seated frame of mind of racing. Yes, it is a sim, but a lot of these guys do it. I'm sure we've all seen them all on the sim. Obviously, we know Shane Van Gisbergen uses it a lot. Obviously, Brody Kostecki uses it a lot. And then Richie Stanaway used it in the past for quite a while. Obviously, competed in the World Championship in iRacing. So he is a very good sim racer. So I'm not surprised to see him come and compete with these boys in the supercar land, especially considering where he wants to go with this year, especially with the wildcard.
Absolutely, and it's cool, you know, you think about the tracks that we've got on iRacing, whether it be Phillip Island and Bathurst and stuff like that, where they know that when they've got a round of that racetrack coming up, you always tend to see a couple of those drivers that are just constantly turning laps and getting a bit of racecraft before the real round of racing that happens for the Supercar Series.
Yeah, it's always good when you see them guys on, you know, that they're having a good ball of fun. As Ross gets a move done on Anderson, as we were watching as well. Phil Sell makes a move on Gilliam, so he moves himself up another Kostecki. It looked like he had another look to the inside. He was going to try his move down into turn number 6. He thought about it again. You can see the nose was having a little bit of a poke to the inside. But the two boost cars that now slowly got a little bit of a Gilliam in the sandwich at the moment, and they're going to try and close in on Ethan Grigalt in front of him. One of those cars that pitted on lap number 1, sitting sort of comfortably in pits. And as I say that, in the pit lane is Madison Down. I am shocked that the rest of them didn't follow.
Well, obviously they know each other. They'd all be talking within the team about who's going to pit and who's not. So they'd probably have some sort of fair idea of how this is all going to play out. But now this is where it'd be interesting to see where he actually falls back in the pack, if he's got any traffic around him or if he's got clear air.
Yeah, this would be the sort of go-to of maybe Down's the guinea pig. Let's see where you come out. I'm sure they know they will have already figured out in terms of timing how long it's going to take down pit road, pit lane, pit exit, everything. They will have done that to a T to know exactly where they are going to come out in this field. As we look at Jake Burton, who is comfortably in a little bit of free air, and this is that little bit of free air that said he was. Behind him is that battle of Freya, Stanaway, Hampstead and Hobson. And then a little bit further back is Ian Ford with Jack Boyd again, as they have a little bit of contact on the exit of turn number 3.
Yeah, I always hold my breath on the exit because you just don't know whether the guy on the inside's going to have enough room. But look at them, they're still dicing as they come into the... And I love this part 2 of the racetrack where it's a downhill braking session. You've got to get the nose turned in, you've got the ripple strip on the inside, then you've got all the gravel on the outside, which can bite you so easily too. So great part of the racetrack. I love those spots for dive bombs.
Well, he's a little bit of a flash of the brake light, just getting himself set up for the corner, and he's not going to have a look. Ford went defensive, running on board with Chris Coxhead, who is basically just watching what these guys do in front of him. I just had a look at Madison Down. He came down pit lane. He has a 13-second gap to the car in front of him, so he's in a bit of clean air at the moment. 33-second pit stop, so looking around at a 1-minute pit lane time. So they'll know that, and as I say, that Ethan Warren and Ethan Grigalt in the pit lane. That leaves Myers and Maloney out in front right now to retake the lead and see what they can do with a lap of fresh air.
Love it. This is a part of the racetrack where these teams are starting to show their hand. You know, they're making these pit stops now. And I'm keen to see how it all unfolds. Lap 34 of 60 for round number 3 here at the Red Bull Ring. And boy, oh boy, have we seen some action. We've seen some safety cars. We've seen some good hard racing and some great overtaking. And there's still a long way to go in this race. And now that these drivers are making these pit stops, where do they find themselves when they rejoin the race? Are they in traffic? Do they find themselves a little bit of clear air? That could be key towards the way the rest of this race is going to pan out.
That's exactly right, and we've had a bit of everything, like you said. It's been a crazy race. Having a look down through the timing as we have a look at Richie Stanaway, Tom Freya having another battle. The boys have come out roughly around the same, about a second off was Ethan Warren and Ethan Grigalt from Madison Down. So they've all come in that little bit of gap that Madison Down has found himself in, as we look at these guys having still a battle now for the top 10 after those guys have pitted. I suspect we'll maybe see Myers and Maloney in, and then those guys will have cleansed themselves of the first guys that came down the pit road under the first safety car. We're looking at, it should be roughly there. I keep thinking that they can go 32 laps. They can go 32 laps, but we had, what, 3 or 4 laps under the safety car, Sam, and at the start, so they can measurably push it to 35, 36, and we know these guys will have saved a little bit extra so they can push it that little bit more. Just trying to shorten up that last stint. Fresh tyres will be key as Burton's in the lane as well.
Absolutely, and we mentioned when they were in that we called it the DRS train, but the draft train, where they were just, you've got that opportunity to save fuel, and that's key towards the end of the race. So you can see these guys still putting laps down on the racetrack. They haven't had to make their stop yet, so that's been key, I think, just to save a little bit of fuel, and every little bit helps.
Exactly, and have a look at the timing as well. They are losing maybe 4/10 to the guys behind the laps. They are starting to lose a bit of time. Richie Stanaway now going to roll reversal this and have a look at Tom Freer down the inside of turn number 3. Hampstead, he's going to shut the TTR Mustang down the inside as well and see if he can use that little bit of extra straight line speed with a wing hanging off the back to get the job done into turn number 4. Freer looks defensive on the inside. Hampstead looks like he goes even further to the inside, gets the job done. Yep, good clean move. Well done there from Hampstead.
It's almost Brenton had the best seat in the house just watching all that unfold. He's like, all right, boys, what are you going to do? You're going to throw it up the inside? Because if you come together, I'll just make a nice little clean move and make up a couple of spots. But it was all nice and tidy from Hampstead, so they'll push on now, and now he'll see if he can get the job done on Stanaway.
See if he can close up Stanaway, a little bit half a second of a gap now to Stanaway as Myers and Maloney still out there. I'm surprised they haven't ventured down pit road. They're going another lap, so these guys are really trying to shrink up that last time in terms of pit lane time, in terms of last stint time, sorry, to try and make sure that they have a little bit less, but they're losing. They lost 2/10 that time to the guys behind. Doesn't seem like much, but in the grand scheme of things, when these guys are so close, it is everything.
Well, absolutely. And you talk about how close it is in qualifying. You know, sometimes you kill for 1/10 of a second in qualifying, but to try and make that back up on the racetrack when everyone's got fresh tyres, that just makes your job that little bit harder. So they obviously have got a plan. They know how it's all going to play out, but yeah, you don't want to give up too much on old tyres. But, you know, good on them. They're trying something different, and, you know, who knows how it's going to play out.
Kostecki as well, just having a move to the inside of Andrew Gilliam. Looks like he's going to get that job done, and he does so down into turn number 4. So good move there. Gardner and Anderson look like they also swapped the positions further back as Anderson as well. He should be coming down pit lane soon. He pitted under that first safety car and didn't under the second. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Cool Drive Mustang coming down into pit lane, and out in front it's still Myers, Maloney, and then once it field cleanses with these guys after their first stint will be done, it'll be back to Phil and Kostecki. We reckon, what, another 15 odd laps from there, so roughly around that 10 lap sprint on fresh tyres towards the end, and if that's what they're going for. And as I say that, in comes one of them, that's Myers to the pit lane, no Maloney. Maloney stays out another lap, so he's going to go on again, and Anderson in the lane as well.
Absolutely. Imagine that run at the end, 10 laps on fresh tyres, how much fun that would have been. Yeah, you can see Anderson's in the lane as well, in the Cool Drive Mustang. So he's decided to get his pit stop over and done with, as we are lap 37 of 60 around here for the Red Bull Ring. But yeah, man, if you had 10 laps of fresh tyres and you could just go hard towards the end, that'd be good fun.
And that's what they might be, well, obviously that's what they could be thinking right now is, do we play this and just keep pushing our stint as long as they can? They know they'll have the tyre advantage, to have a little bit of a pace advantage now. Obviously those guys that have come out of pit lane will be gaining that time back right now, which is very hard. Some of them are in the, I know Ethan Warren just did a 30.04, it flashed up on my screen, so he is flying, and these guys for comparison are in the 31.1, so 1 second at the moment for fresh rubber is a massive time advantage that these guys are gaining. And as Hampstead has made his move done, and is that he's gotten around Stanaway, and now Freya's in front of both of them, and I'm guessing Hobson has come down pit road. Just having a look, yeah, Hobson came down pit road, so Hampstead and Freya now at the lead of this little train.
Yeah, they were behind Stanaway, so I don't know what happened there, so whether he had a moment or whether they just got the job done, but yeah, I'm impressed that Hampstead's still holding on as well as he is with the damage that he's got to that Mustang.
It's surprising to know that he's still doing not too bad without the wing. We do know that there is obviously a little bit of a difference when you don't have a damage or a rear wing. So there is that effect that it has as Maloney comes down pit lane, and that will give the lead to the two Boost Mobile Racing Commodores, that they will take the lead. Phil Kostecki out in front as Maloney comes down onto pit lane, and that will cleanse those guys that have done the first pit stop. As Stanaway is in as well, and he actually pitted under that second safety car, so I'm surprised to see him come in so early.
Yeah, maybe he just wants those fresh tyres. He knows that now once he pits, he's got fuel to go to the end. So I guess it's all strategy role play now. I'm keen to see now how long that Phil and Kostecki and all that will stick it out too, because they're obviously going to have to make another pit stop just as far as fuel to make it towards the end. So, but like you said, fresh tyres around here, when you're talking about some drivers and teams where they're a second quicker, that's a huge advantage.
Exactly, and I know those boys at Boost Mobile Racing, they'll be looking at that. Phil and Kostecki will be getting told that these guys, Ethan Warren, and as we look at Ethan Warren, Madison down 15th and 16th at the moment, these guys are flying on fresh rubber. Down last time round at 30.8 to 30.9 from Warren.
Yeah, it's pretty good. They're driving themselves back into this result. It's really good. You know, they rolled the card with a bit of strategy early on with safety cars, but it's played out nicely. You know, anything unforeseen now, they shouldn't have to come down pit lane again. But, you know, at the end of the day now, it's eyes forward and making sure they don't get themselves caught up in any situations with traffic or anything else. But, you know, at the moment, they're sort of the benchmark. As you can see, the Boost mobile cars, they've headed down into pit lane, so they're going to get their pit stop done. They don't want the TTR guys to run too hard, too fast with those fresh rubber that we were talking about.
And Ross follows them in as well, so that's an interesting strategy called. Gilliam goes on, and so does Gardner, so he's actually now lost his draft partner. So this is going to be interesting to see where these guys funnel out. They will be a little bit behind the 3 TTR cars at the moment. I think Maloney's really dropped off. As Maloney's dropped actually behind Ethan Gold. I reckon he had a speeding penalty because he is more than roughly 5 seconds behind. Oh, but he did run a little bit longer. I got to factor that into it. So he's most probably run that little bit longer. It's most probably actually hurt Maloney more than I think he would have thought. But as we watch the 3 TTR Commodores come out of the final corner down the front straight, and here are the Boost cars. They are just at pit exit. It's going to be a lot closer than I think.
They're in front.
I think
they had to take less fuel. Yeah, so they've done a really good job.
Wow, job done for them. Phil Cell out in front of them, and now it's going to be the chase for the TTR boys that were out in front. Now they're going to chase them down.
Well, the beauty of that too is that they've obviously got their stop out of the way. They've got fuel to go all the way to the end, but they're on those fresher tyres too. They're fresher by a couple of laps, but that's always handy to have in your back pocket. I'd rather have 1 lap fresher tyres than the bloke behind me. So, you know, they've taken that into consideration. They knew what number they need to hit, and they knew that these TTR guys were just going to sort of slipstream themselves and just try and keep that train. As you can see, they're all just single file, hitting their marks, and they knew that they couldn't afford to stay out too long on those tyres because they knew the TTR guys would eat them up.
Yeah, that 10 odd laps extra bit of fuel that they got in that second pit stop really put them into this race, and now they have the effective race lead once the pit stop cycles, as Gilliam, Gardner on pit road, Freer staying out with Richard Hampstead. So a lot of these guys are now just reacting to everyone around them. And it happens. Sometimes you go, yeah, I'm going to run it all to the end, and then you see everyone pit, and you go, no, I'm pitting with everyone else now. So strategy book out the window again, and you just got to play it as the race falls.
That's right, and they'll have those jotted down too on paper somewhere. You know, those team managers will be saying, right, we need X amount of fuel to get to the end, but if this happens, we might do this, or if this happens, we might do that. So obviously they'll see what everyone else is doing around them, and you don't want to give up too much track time to the guys that you're racing, because we spoke about the time difference when you're on fresher tyres compared to older tyres. That just makes it so difficult to make up towards the end of the race when you're almost on equal rubber to make up that gain that you lost.
So hard to make up time as we look at Gardner and Gilliam rejoin in amongst the TTR train, and they would have been like, we don't need anyone in here right now, but this is going to happen. Gilliam, hard defense down the inside, was having a look behind. That was Brady Myers. He's going to go the long way around. Cold tyres on Gilliam, warm rubber on Myers. Even though it's older, still that little bit of heat will be helping him right now. As soon as Gilliam's tyres come up to pressure, he should be okay to hold on to that position. But these guys have literally mixed up this battle pack for TTR.
Love it, and good job by Gilliam too to be in that mix and the fold. You know, rolled the dice a little bit early on. He was a little bit out of strategy sequence with tyres and everything, but the way it's all played out now, he's in the thick of it with the TTR guys. He'd be absolutely loving this battle.
Yeah, he's done a really good job. That second safety car brought him back into the race. A couple of the other guys who haven't made their second pit stop are doing that right now. It's weird seeing a couple of cars with 3 pit stops, even though it was only 2 compulsory, but some of the guys pitted under both safety car. So it's just trying to funnel through who has done their second pit stop right now. But these guys definitely have. The effective race lead is Phil Cell and Kostecki, but this is the battle for the podium. That was Jamie Dyke coming down pit road in one of the SSR cars. He was out of sequence, but look at this battle. That was a wiggle from down. This is going to show the door to the inside of Gardner and Warren, because I don't think Warren wanted to make a move, and he isn't. So Gardner to the inside, down into turn number 1. Going to show him the exit. Is he? Yep, he's going to force him a little bit wide. And Gilliam going to get the run as well. He's going to move himself up. These guys are going to start pushing this battle pack and say, TTR, we're here.
Yeah, they're really mixing up the party for the TTR guys. It's not ideal for these guys, but look at them breaking up there, up to the inside now. They're going to be side by side into the tightest turn. They get the job done on exit, give each other a bit of space, but great racing between these two. And look at them messing up the TTR plan. And all they need to do is eyes forward, because those Boost mobile cars that were just gone out of shot, they're effectively your race leaders.
They are effectively the race lead and the podium. I didn't realise Ross is on the back of that top 3 train, so this is actually a battle for pin number 4. I thought it was the back of the podium, but there is Jordan Ross, who's just followed everyone through and did what he needed to do, and now he is sitting behind Filsell and Kostecki. He did a 30.1 last round. I think that was the fastest lap of the race as well, so these guys are on the move out in front.
Mate, if I was in this spot and I was following these 2 boost cars, I'd be like, you beauty, I'm happy to sit here. He's got a little bit of fresh air behind him. There's no pressure on him. So he's just happy to just let these laps, tick away and happy to steal the podium. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, you're loving it. Yeah, it was the last lap around. I'll get that out. That was a tongue twister and a half. He did set the fastest lap of the race. That's Brett Loxton coming down the pit lane as well, so he's going to serve his second pit stop. But yeah, these top 3, Filsell, Kostecki, and Ross. How many times have we said Filsell already out in front in this season? But look at this train. This is the train we want to keep our eyes on towards the end. Down, Gilliam, Gardner, Myers, Warren, Ethan, Grigol, all in that train. Maloney has fresher rubber, just that Mustang you see off in the distance. He has the fresher rubber, but that extra couple of laps that he did definitely hurt him as Gilliam to the inside and down.
How good is this? Just throwing up the inside of Madison down. These guys, look at them side by side, 2 or 3 cars deep. That's awesome. These guys aren't gearing an inch. They know that they're coming into the dying stages of this race. No one expected the mix-up that we had in these opening laps, but it's really thrown a spanner in the works, and these guys are racing hard for position. Do they want to race too hard, though, and let the top 3 get away from them? Because they're missing out on an opportunity for a possible win, but not so much the win, it's even a podium position.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say too. These guys you'd think they maybe work together a little bit and catch up to these guys 3 in front. But at the moment, they're just letting them pull away. They're roughly just under 5 seconds in front of them. So Gilliam now leads this train. Good job, good move, got the job done on Madison Down. Now Gardner is all over the back of Down, and this is that, couple of laps extra rubber that these 2 cars have the advantage over the TTR group, and they are trying to use them now to gain that advantage.
The only thing they can't afford to do, and I guess it's you got to, live by the sword, die by the sword. You've got to make those moves count when you can, but you don't want to push too hard and destroy your rubber too. So it's catch-22, isn't it? If you sit too long, the guys will probably jump you and pull away from you. But you really want to battle and make the most of it, but not tear up the tyres at the same time. But how good is it to see these guys in the thick of it with the best of the TTR guys?
Done a really good job, especially to mix it up with these guys. Considering the strategy call, like we said, Gilliam's strategy call early on, and same with Gardner's, they both stayed out in that first one, was a little bit of a, we'll see what happens if they get a safety car. They might be able to play their way back into it. Myers having a look at Gardner as we ride on board with Ethan Warren in the visor cam. You've got Ethan Grigol in the mirror behind, and then you've got also the Brady Myers having a look to try and get that position on Gardner. Made a little bit of contact, wasn't able to do it. Now he's going to have another look into turn number 4. He's going to have the track position on the inside. A little bit of contact on the exit. That's going to force Gardner wide. I think Ethan had a look to the middle of the racetrack to try and have a look, but no, has to sit in behind. So a little bit of contact. That's bottled them all up. Now Ethan Grigol's right in the thick of things.
Mate, I'm truly fascinated by this battle. This is not what I was expecting in the dying stages of this race, and that's no disrespect to anyone up and down throughout this field, but this is so good. These guys are all giving up each other. There's so much hard racing. You'd see they're giving up track position. They're trying to get the moves done. They're inside, outside of each other, but it's so good. And this is what we want to see in the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. Good, hard side-by-side racing, regardless. Oh, there's contact. We didn't want to see it that hard. He held on to it. That was the move of the night. Well done, Griffin Gardner. Held on to it, kept the throttle down, and held position.
What a save from Griffin Gardner out of the last corner. A little bit of contact. It's hard to go too wide through turn number 10. They tried to do it. A little bit of contact with Gardner. And he saved this mega save from Gardner to not throw it into that inside wall. We saw earlier on when Lee Ellis in practice threw it in the inside wall. As we look at a replay of that, they would just run. They use all the racetrack coming back in. There's a little bit of contact on the inside. And whoa, well done to Easton. He got a tap on the way through, actually, from Gardner's front end that could have actually sent him to the outside fence. So they've done a really good job to sort that one out. Whether the stewards say anything about that, that will be up to them as we have a look back. Ellis, as we mentioned, Ellis having his practice accident. Now got Warboys all over the back of him for P number 19.
Yeah, that's the tricky part of the racetrack. It gets very narrow in that last corner, so I don't know that there's too much as far as an intentional contact there. Whether the stewards say anything about maybe just readjust the situation, but I don't think it'll be a drive-through penalty. It was hard racing. It was, unfortunate.
Exactly.
But, man, what a save. How good was that?
Oh, brilliant save. Best save of the season, I think we've seen so far. Besides the fuel saving that Burton did at round 1, but we'll get there. I'm sure he'll be wishing that he had that little bit extra. But now they're sort of split up that TTR battle pack at the moment. Grid Gold now with Warren, Gardner, and Maloney in their secondary train, because in front of them is Gilliam, Down, and Myers. Oh, whether Gilliam and them have the pace to close on those 3 out in front. You look at the track map on the right, you can see that 3. That is actually over the top of 4, 5, and 6, coming up to the top of turn number 2. This is them now. This is your effective race leader. That's Jared Filsell, Brady Kostecki, Jordan Ross. That is your top effective race lead. Then there is the gap back to Andrew Gilliam. I don't think Gilliam has that much of an advantage, and as I say that, great move down the inside from Ethan Warren on Ethan Grit Gold. Set that job up perfectly and got the job done.
Yeah, the thing that concerns me from a team's point of view is trying to close down that margin. They've got a decent margin in these dying laps, I should say. But the battle that you're going to have with Filsell and Kostecki's there pretty much playing teammate. He knows that Jared's in the hunt for the points. Kostecki mentioned at the start of the broadcast when I spoke to him on the grid that he knows he's not in championship contention. He's in there. He's here for the race, and he's help out his teammate. So he's not going to put too much pressure as it is on Jared Filsell. So these guys can just be eyes forward and not have to worry too much about racing too hard. And that's where the TTR guys are going to struggle a little bit. They have to close that margin and then have enough in reserve to actually battle it with these guys if they can get the job done.
That's exactly right. Kostecki won't leave an inch. If he knows that Filsell's out in front and he's just going to hold the fort down, he will hold the fort down. And that's exactly what you want in a wingman right now, as Kostecki knows, like you said, not in the championship hunt. He doesn't need to do anything. But Jordan Ross is right there. And I don't think Ross will just sit there. It'd be nice, like, he might be thinking, yes, great, podium opportunity, I'll take it any day of the week. But when you have that chance to maybe get a win, the draft is so strong here that you can actually have that little bit of a gain. You might not be that 1/10 quicker, but you can bring that 1/10 quicker into a gain because you're in the draft.
Absolutely. And we know no one's perfect. It's easy. Sometimes the best of the drivers can make little mistakes. If you just lock a brake or you're going a little bit too deep and you make that little mistake, and, there may be an instance where Jared gets a little bit wide and doesn't get a great run, and Kostecki sort of holds off a little bit because he wants to play wingman. And if Ross gets that advantage and makes that move, that can work in his favour. So he'll keep that in his back pocket towards the dying stages, but he'll also be mindful of where 4th, 5th and 6th are as catching the back of him too.
That's exactly right. And looking at this battle pack, this is the end of that pack, that second pack of the TTR cars. Now Gardner and Maloney, as Hampstead and Boyd come down pit lane. That should cleanse the field of everyone who has pitted, as Hampstead brings his wingless Mustang down. It's just a coupe. It's just a coupe without a wing. It's a supercar without a wing. This is the new downforce rules package for the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational from here on out for Monza, as he comes down in the pit lane, as that's where we head next. Filsell takes the lead over with 14 laps to go in this race, and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm loving the way this is all played out. We knew that these guys had to make a stop, and then we saw the TTR train at the start, and we thought, have these guys done enough to open up that margin? But they just didn't quite get the job done. And the way that these guys were belting off laps earlier, they were just eyes down and they didn't have to worry too much. And when they made that pit stop, I think they might have been in the lane a little bit less than the TTR guys and managed to jump that margin. So that's worked out nicely for them.
Yeah, that pitting under the second safety car really helped them. They weren't too far behind, and in the traffic they didn't get hurt, and they were able to save that little bit. And there it is, 10 seconds roughly to Myers, for example, a little bit more to Madison Down, roughly 12 seconds, and that's all it was. And that was because they came down under that second safety car, got some fuel under it, put some extra tyres on it, and were able to just gain that little bit of an advantage. Even though they were 5-6 seconds a little bit further back in the pack, they were able to make that advantage count when it needed.
Absolutely. You know, you sometimes think about how much. We'll see a little bit of side-by-side action here as Maloney's going to try. He's on the outside, though. He's going to have his work cut out for him, but as the track goes around, he's now on the inside of the racetrack, on the ripple strip. These guys giving each other a bit of room. It favours now Maloney for the next couple of corners because he is on the inside. So they're going to be side-by-side, gets the job done. Nice bit of give and take for these guys.
A little bit of give and take, and now, I was going to say, we're not going to go too wide through the last corner again, and Maloney gets the job done. Gardner, is he going to have another look? The other thing is, I think that little bit of damage that he must have gotten from that incident has really hurt him because he hasn't had the pace. He's got a little bit of left front damage to Gardner. He had the fresher tyre, but he just doesn't have the pace advantage that it looked like he had in the early stages of the running before the contact, as that is going to be moved on. And there's, stand away at Freer. They're all the way off the track, and like we said, Hobson was watching brief for these battles, and I'll just gain these positions as Hobson makes the move and gets up into P number 11. But wonder what happened between Standaway and Freer. Looked like they both were trying to push hard at Standaway with a big dive to the inside. He got the car stopped. He did a really good job, and actually, as I say that, he's going to escort Freer wide. None of them were giving an inch, so these boys have been in a little bit of contact. But nothing there off of turn 1. Looks like they both just ran wide, but then contact off of turn 2. It's just Standaway just showing a little bit more of the curve than I think Freer wanted to be shown.
That was hard, argy-bargy battling, wasn't it? You know, not giving it an inch, a little bit of door banging, that's not bad, because they know that it's now in the dying stages. What are we, 12 laps to go? So they're not giving an inch, but of course you don't want to end your race and end up firing off into the gravel trap either.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing that. Looking back at this battle pack here, that is Burton. I don't think he'll be wanting to be down in 16th. I don't think that's where we expected Jay Burton to be tonight. But Richard Hampstead, he just came down pit lane. He has got fresh rubber, so he was able to easily make that position and get the job done and move himself up into P15. And look at all these cars in front of him. He will, if he can get around these guys quite quickly, he could gain a couple, 3, 4 positions and move himself up just outside the top 10. Without a wing, that's not a bad effort.
Yeah, not bad. And like you said, fresh tyres, that's fantastic. But talking about Burton, you mentioned that he's been so strong in the series for the first couple of rounds, and then it's not the round that he'd be looking for. And we spoke about it earlier. We don't have a drop round in this series, so you need to make every round count. As we can see, Phil Selves, he's leading this race. He hasn't got too much pressure from his teammate behind. It's all going nicely, but yeah, unfortunately not the day that Burton would have liked here for round number 3.
No, definitely not the round he would have been wanting to have a look through that field. So Phil Sell, Kosecki, Ross was the first 3. Then we just had Gilliam, Dillon, Down and Myers. Then we got Ethan Warren right now on the screen as we switch back to these leading 2. Kosecki, I don't think will have a look. We know he's wingman for his teammate. He's there or thereabouts. He might have a little bit fresher pace. The draft could help as well. We do know that. But at the moment, these 2 just comfortably out in front. And like you said, Burton was up with Phil Sell all of last round, and now Phil Sell's got his teammate Kosecki, but he's still out in front. He's still putting on a performance, and he didn't even need to show the pace in qualifying. He wasn't started P number 3, obviously, but now he's up there and got the job done. Hampstead on Anderson. Here it is. I said that fresh rubber, that 10-lap sort of sprint to the end. There's obviously a little bit more than that to come up to start at 50, so 11 laps to go in this race. And these guys have just got that little bit of fresh rubber. Does Hampstead on this group to maybe gain some more positions?
Absolutely. I joke about it throughout the rounds, in the previous rounds that we've had, that when you got fresh tyres, you almost feel like Superman. But, you know, it's so good when you get back on a racetrack and you've got fresher tyres, especially around guys that don't have the tyre advantage with you. So it makes it almost look easy. You can see that he's already on the back there. He's starting to get the back of Freer there. So he'll get this run down, and then, of course, it'll be eyes forward to the next one after Freer will be Standaway.
Freer waiting on board, as you see behind. Is he going to have a look to the inside? Nope. He's just going to take his time. Oh, he actually, look at the exit. Just the point that you can see on Hampstead. He got that car, better exit drive. He could have a look down into turn number 4 if he gets a better run. The draft, I don't think the damage is actually going to help him. Oh, he's going to have a look. It's late. Freer opens the door. Not going to push in too hard. Job done for Hampstead. Moved himself up another position. It's a good climb back right now for Richard Hampstead.
And like you said before too, the benefit that Hampstead's got is that these cars were in a bunch, so he's caught the tail end of it, and now he's just picking them off one by one. And I reckon he's going to get those couple of 2 more spots that are in front of him. He should get them fairly easy as these laps wind on.
Yeah, and the good thing about that is the toe will just, it's not like they're out of the toe range, they're just in it. Half a second to stand away, you'll be able to close that in. Once he gets that job done, you'll be maybe 6 to 7 tenths behind Hobson. You should be able to close that gap down too. So this has really played into the hands of Hampstead. And this would have been a similar scenario that we were looking at if Phil Sell and them went a little bit longer in the race, but obviously they had that little bit more fuel advantage as well, that they wanted to play their cards right. As Phil Sell, Kostecki having a look, I didn't think you'd do that, Kostecki, there's no need for that. But he could be defending from Jordan Ross. Ross could be maybe getting a little bit feisty behind, and maybe have a look as we get down to within 10 to go.
And that's it. And I think the beauty that Phil Sell knows is that as much as Kostecki moves around in his mirror, he knows he's not too much of a threat. Although in saying that, it looks like it's going to be a swap for position. So maybe they've had a bit of a chat and they're happy that Kostecki's probably got a little bit more pace and they wanted him to run on with it. So that's a bit of a surprise. I wasn't expecting that.
A little bit of a surprise, a little bit of a flash of the lights there from Phil Sell, maybe getting Kostecki to let's go and we'll move it up. And that could be a good call as our race director, Luke, who just brings it up, that Jared might actually need to save fuel. Seeing as Kostecki has been leading, been in basically chase the entire time from Jared Phil Sell, he's sort of been having to run flat out as Jared out in front of this little train. So now maybe Jared needs to save that little bit of extra fuel to get them across the line. Never know, you could have underfilled by 1 litre. It's enough to do. You can save roughly 0.2 a lap, pardon me, if you get it right. So you can go down from 3.4 litres a lap to 3.2. So they can save roughly 1 litre in this time, maybe 2 litres if they need to. So be what Jared needs to do.
Well, it'd be good to think about. Obviously, look at that margin that they've got to Gilliam in third. So he's 5.4 seconds at the moment. So we'll see if that fluctuates over the next couple of laps. But you could be right. That could be just something that they just want to manage and make sure that he's got fuel to the end. This looks like, is that Kostecki's moved right out of the way?
Yeah. Now, come on, boys. Stop
What's going on?
What's going on?
I think you're just trying to keep the race interesting between them all, maybe.
I do know that, I don't know whether it still is the case with Jared, with the SSR, with Jordan Ross and all of them. I think that is still the case, remembering that they're all, I should have read up on this, but it's so with them in the Boost Mobile colours, it's sometimes you always get lost as whether they're still all working as one. I do know they have that little bit of extra connection with SSR, does Jared Phil Sell, so it wouldn't surprise me if Kostecki's like, all right, let's let these two have a battle and let it go. And that would also explain why Jordan hasn't really had many dives at them, because he doesn't need to. He's just going to sit second. But I'm sure he'll want to get the win, so let's see how this battle plays out. But interesting, Kostecki took the lead and dropped the third. I didn't think that would happen.
We'll see the action back in the pack now. Freya's the other them side by side. These guys still not given an inch here on exit. And we talk about the different liveries within the teams. This Cool Drive Mustang as well, part of the TTR stable. So, but now he's all over the back of Stanaway. What have these guys got for him? Looks like Stanaway's enjoying himself. He's made a good gap from his qualifying. Obviously, that didn't go to plan, but he's still now making his way forward. But he's still got plenty of pressure from the Cool Drive Mustang.
Yeah, he's going to have a look and see what he can do. And another factor in this is Hampstead's gotten around these guys. You can see just as going off of the screen right now, that was Hampstead and Hobson. Hobson has actually now got Hampstead for company. So Hampstead got past Stanaway, closed that gap that we said, and that was all over the back of Hobson. That won't be too far away before he makes himself up into P number 11 at the moment. But let's see what these guys are going to do now. Will he have a look? Will Anderson have a dive on Stanaway? As I look in front, that's Hampstead, getting that job done on the fresher rubber. Burton, no, he's going to have a look on Freya, gets the job done.
That's good, because he was back in 16th, so he's managed to move up to 15th now. And like you said, if you can see those couple of cars, or three cars in front of him that are going to start battling with each other, that's a couple of more spots. And Jake needs to go into sort of damage limitation now. You can see that Phil Sell's up front. That's not ideal. Kostecki's now taken over P2, so looks like these guys are just having a bit of fun as these laps go on. Looks like Kostecki jots back, makes a couple of moves, gets past Ross, but yeah, it's good for Burton to obviously look forward now and try to make up as many spots as he can to try and stop the bleeding, I guess, a little bit with Phil Sell out leading this race.
He needs to stop it and try and minimise the deficit that he's going to get with Phil Sell out in front and himself down in P15 at the moment. I don't think I would have saw that coming to this one. That would have been on my bingo card. Burton outside the top 10? Nope, definitely not on it. So that's it's a shock to see Burton down that far. Definitely have to see whether his car was off or he just wasn't feeling in the realm of where he needed to be tonight, because he's just that little bit off. I know he did have a race in the production car series at Eastern Creek on the weekend, so maybe not able to get as much prep as he would have liked. But Anderson now all over the back of Richie Standaway as they come down this long straight, first of the two long straights here at the Red Bull Ring for round 3 of the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational. Not many laps to go, roughly 7 laps to go down the inside. It looked like behind that is Ian Ford, sorry. So it's Ethan Grigol making a move up there, but he's got the job done. There's Ian Ford on Tom Freer, and that moves himself up into P number 16. Good drive from him.
Absolutely not giving up on each other there in the dying stages of this race. Every point counts. Like we said, no drop round for this championship. You need to strike while you can, because those laps and those points actually at the end of the season could be crucial to decide where you sit, whether you're in contention for a championship or whether you're down the back of the pack. So good to see good hard racing. They haven't just laid over and given up. And you know, in the dying stages of this race, it can be easy to be disheartened when you see the leaders out in front, like these Boost Mobile cars. You know, they've got a good margin. It's what, 4.5 seconds over Gilliam, but you know, when you start to see these leaders starting to disappear in the distance, it can be a little bit disheartening, but you just can't give up until the checkered flag.
No, you can't. Anything can happen. I know I made a little error this week at Sandown. Nearly did an ingle into turn 1 in the TCR, and in an official race, that was a scary moment. Last lap too, while leading by like 7 seconds. But you know, that was scary, and you never want to do that. So anything can happen, though. Happen to me, it could happen to any of these guys. It's coming down in front Ryan into the pit lane, so maybe a little bit of fuel as they're pushing it. A couple of guys have been saying that they might be struggling in terms of fuel numbers. Maybe their fuel numbers are out. So Ryan in the pits, that could be a quick pit stop. And now let's see what feels this battle pack. Sorry, so Hampstead's gotten in front of Hobson, so he got that job done with the fresh rubber. But it's actually brought the rest of the field back into this battle as well. So Hampstead's fresh tyres don't last forever, and if you push them so hard from the outgo, you could have just overheated them and burned them from here on out.
Absolutely, but now that he's got that clear track, he can sort of run his own race, and the gap's too big for him to possibly make up another position unless there's some dramas in front of him. But he'd be happy that he managed to get a couple of those extra positions. You know, obviously not the most ideal of nights for him, but to get those extra couple of spots and you know, have the result he's got with the damage he's got, I think it's something that he could be fairly proud of, considering how the night could have played out.
It could have played out a lot worse looking at the rear end of that Mustang, but he's done a good job as we ride on board with Ethan Grigol. He has got Maloney behind him, Ethan Warren, the pole sitter, and Griffin Gardner. This is for inside that top 10. Gardner holding down P number 10. Hasn't really been able to gain anything since that contact with Ethan out of that last corner. 5 laps to go here at the Red Bull Ring. And right now, this is a battle for 7. The battle for the lead is closing up to 2 tenths between Phil Sell and Kostecki. And as I say that, Kostecki has a look to the inside. Phil Sell sort of gave him the room if he was going to show the nose. Could these boys just be like, you know what, Burton's down in 15th, have at it?
Possibly, but at the end of the day, you don't want to give up too many points if you don't have to. I mean, these guys are probably just having a bit of fun, have some hard racing. You can see Kostecki's going to dive up the inside. You know there's going to be no contact between the guys, just as I say that. They don't want to see each other fed off the racetrack either, but they're having a good time. We know Kostecki's not in the championship hunt, so I would imagine probably come towards the last lap, they probably will swap it around, I imagine, but you know, you never know. But yeah, you don't want to give up too many spots just because you've got some breathing space in this round, because you don't know how it could change on you just going into the next round.
Let's see. We know that Kostecki was going to go hard out, and if anything happened, he was going to go. Obviously, main priority, help Phil Sell, but at the moment, he's taking points away from Phil Sell with 5 laps to go. Is he going to come across the line to complete lap number 56? Bring him to lap 57. 4 laps to go here at the Red Bull Ring. The battle for the lead. Kostecki goes defensive on Phil Sell. These boys are just having a good old fun out in front. Kostecki leading them down into turn number 1. Phil Sell behind. Jordan Ross just quietly sitting there in P number 3. I'm waiting for him to have a look, and I don't think he'll do it to the last couple of laps as we ride on board with him and the 2 Boost Mobile Commodores in front.
Yeah, I do love this vantage point where we're on board inside the Mustang of Jordan Ross. He can see the battle that's happening in front of him. Does he think about trying to possibly get in a little bit closer and have a dive for the win? We don't know. Still a couple laps for it to all unfold, but awesome pictures inside the Ford Mustang.
Yeah, awesome shot here as we ride on board. And well, there was a little feint there from Phil Sell, the little feint, the little dart. just put himself maybe a quarter of a car width off to the right to maybe have a look. Just felt the mirrors behind them. There is a battle between Maloney. I think, there it is. Maloney, Griggold down the inside. I think Griggold's trying to hold on to the position. Maloney shown the edge of the racetrack, backs out of that one. Going to have to settle for P number 8 at the moment. He's going to not have a look down through turn number 6, but he is there. He is hounding the back of that ERT Commodore.
And he's also got his teammate of Warren behind him too. So these guys, just trying to get the nose of that Mustang turned in over the ripple strips. These guys not giving an inch in the dying stages of this race. Round number 3 of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational from Red Bull Ring. And what a race we've seen so far. We've seen some safety cars, some good racing, and these guys are not giving an inch. It looks like it's going to fire in the pit lane. Short on fuel, I'm imagining.
Ethan in the pit lane. A couple of them were saying it. So Ethan now in the pit lane, going to get maybe a splash and dash. I'll find out when he does complete that pit stop what the fuel time was to actually see whether that was a splash. But he is in the lane, and that's going to hurt him inside that top 10 to drop to most probably a fair way out. Will this be a quick little splash? Roughly 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 7 seconds. That's just a splash of fuel. So a little bit extra fuel for Ethan Griggold. So that's unfortunate. Running inside the top 10, and that little bit of fuel has hurt him. Has out in front. 3 laps to go. Kostecki in front of Phil Sell with Ross, the watching brief.
And then it's the best of the rest, I think, back here in 4th, 5th and 6th of Gillum, Down and Myers. I mean, we didn't know how this was all going to play out. I think Gillum would be pretty happy with his race so far, to know that he's taking it up against the guys at TTR. They're some of the best teammates and team drivers in TTR, and so any night that you can finish in front of those guys is a brilliant night. So the strategy, his driving, everything has played out nicely for him, and he'd be pretty chuffed at the moment with P4.
Yeah, he's always had considerably quick speed. Obviously competed in the Supercar E-Series last year, I believe the year before as well. Can't remember that far back. My memory sometimes doesn't serve me that well, but obviously he does really well in Scott, so not surprised to see Gilliam finding it up with these guys and doing a really good job. As further back the Southern Battle Pack still goes on. Obviously that's elevated Burton to inside the top 15. Another position gave him the 14th with Anderson in front of him, and these guys have sort of calmed down now. Sandman, even though I say that, we've got 2 laps to go, so they could just be waiting to spark them back up again.
Absolutely, and especially with Burton there, he knows that he can see those guys, he can see those positions, but it's easier said than done. But look at the 2 Boost mobile cars, these guys giving an inch, and then you can see, looks like sideways, down a little bit, crossed up in the braking zone.
Was that a lock at the rears, or did Myers give him a little bit of a helping hand? It was either one of them. He either locked the rears or Myers maybe gave him a little bit of a tap. But down the inside, Myers, round 1 winner. Oh, he's actually lost to Gilliam. He's got Gilliam. Oh, he saved it.
Good save.
Didn't go around. Good save. He's going to lose the position though to down. Myers is going to have to sit in behind. I don't think he should be trying to take that position.
Another hit. They've had more contact. I was just about to say, how good was it from Myers that he gave up that position? He knows he got into him, but now they've had more contact on exit. So I think if that second hit hadn't have taken place, I don't think the stewards would look into it, because it was a bit of a readdress. There was a bit of an unfortunate incident, but now with that second contact, the stewards may want to look at that. I don't know.
Could come up in the stewards, but we'll leave that up. That's why they're the stewards and we're not. We're just commentators out here. Gilliam's actually now in the pit lane. Could there be something?
Damage.
Damage. It could have been damage. It could have been a meatball or something. Get away with a meatball, so that's interesting. We'll find out from Gilliam after the race, and I'm sure someone will let everyone know. But last lap of the race here at the Red Bull Ring for the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. It is Kostecki out in front from Phil Sell. Phil Sell going to have a look. He shows the nose, but doesn't think to dive it down the inside. Will he have a look here? Will he get the better drive of the corner? And that is a no. Good exit from Kostecki.
Yeah, this is good to watch. A great battle for these guys between the 2 Boost mobile Commodores. Jared Philsell, our series leader, I tipped him for the win, but the action is still happening down throughout the pack. You can see Anderson trying to get the job done. Oh, it's going to be tricky on the outside. Doesn't want to make contact.
Gilliam obviously rejoining the race after coming down pit lane. He's trying to just salvage something out of this race from like a good result inside the top 5. He's trying to finish it off. But Kostecki now out in front, coming to the last section of the race. The last sector, turn 7, turn number 8. Kostecki Is he going to give up this spot to Phil Sell? Let's see if Phil Sell has a look to the inside. Kostecki out in front. Doesn't look like it. Kostecki around lap turn number 9. Coming into turn number 10. And it will be Brody Kostecki taking the win here at the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational for round 3 at the Red Bull Ring. Boost Mobile Racing 1-2 with Jordan Ross rounding out the podium.
Terrific battle there. Down will cross the line for P number 4. Heartbreak in those dying laps. Who would have thought? Was Gillian probably running out of fuel? I'm not sure. We'll have to look into that after the race, but heartbreaking stuff. So down grabs 4th, Maloney in 5th as the rest of the field follows through. And what a race we saw tonight. Unbelievable stuff here at the Red Bull Ring. I love this racetrack. It didn't disappoint tonight.
It definitely didn't. What a race. What a result from Brody Kostecki. He obviously didn't have a good opening round at Sebring, then obviously wasn't here for the round of Winton as he burns those rear tires. And as I say that, yep, he's going to get him in the grass, going to do a little bit of Camp Waters impression, throwing up some dirt as 2 Boost Mobile cars sit there at the exit of turn number 3. They're going to burn him down. And what a result by those two, Sam Hand. Obviously, you tipped Phil Sell. It was the other Boost car that got the win, but they had an epic drive to do. They played the strategy right and got the job done.
Absolutely. They were quick in practice and they did the job in qualifying. They worked together throughout the race. I know they were separated at one stage there, but they found each other, worked together, and it's been a great job for both those guys. And of course, Phil Sell, regardless of not getting the win, his teammate got the win, Brody Kostecki. It was a great drive. And, at the end of the day, it was a great points day. He didn't have too much pressure from unfortunately, the Burton. He managed to get home in 13th, so that's good for Burton. He managed to pick up a couple of extra spots in those dying stages. But, when your nearest rival has a bad day, P2's not too bad. So I think he'd be pretty happy for his teammate and Kostecki getting that win.
Yeah, I think that's where it was like, look, let's have a battle and see what happens. But an awesome result from there. Brody Kostecki takes out round 3 of the Supercars Pro Invitational here, presented by Logitech at the Red Bull Ring. Jared Phil Sell teammate coming home in P number 2 to have a Boost Mobile Racing 1-2. And an awesome drive from Jordan Ross. I think drive of the day for Jordan Ross. Synergy Sim Racing coming home in P number 3 with Madison Down, Jake Maloney, Brady Myers, Ethan Warren in another TTR battle. It was SSR in round 1 at Sebring, and now we've got those guys there. Griffin Gardner in 8th, Richard Hampstead, a mega drive as well from him to come home in P number 9 with what looked like damage from lap 1. Hobson rounding out the top 10. Standaway just finishing on the outside of the top 10 in 11th for his first race as we go through the field. I have heard as well Gillian maybe hit the incident limit. Now that could have also been what happened to Ethan Grigalt finishing down in 20th as well. And so there could be another thing that has just played a little bit wrong. A bunch of DNFs from that opening lap race. That one incident, which cost a lot of people some good points here today. And with that, we will get our interview started as we'll look at what could have been for those guys. But an awesome result as we will bring in our winner for today will be Brody Kostecki. And Sam, man, take it away.
Brody, I had the pleasure of talking to you after qualifying on the grid. You said you were going to go for it. It was a tremendous battle between you and your teammate. You Boost Mobile guys put on a great show, finishing 1-2. You'd be pretty happy with that, I would imagine.
Yeah, I was pretty stoked there with the pace we had throughout the whole race. Jared and I were pretty quick. Unfortunately, we got off a little bit off strategy at the start there when I missed the pit lane just by not reading the rules, which is a bit stupid of me, and Jared took tyres. So, yeah, but car was really good, and it was great to get a SSR top 3 as well with Jay Ross in 3rd. But, yeah, it was good to come home with the win.
It was great watching that play out, your strategy, because we were I guess, concerned a little bit that the TTR guys were sort of single file and it looked like they were running away with it. But when the strategies and all that played out, you guys had your pit stop, you still came out in front of them, and that would have been a sigh of relief when you come out, you got your fresh tyres, a full tank of fuel to make it to the end, and you've got position on them too, so that would have been great. Yeah,
it was, that final stint there prior to the pit stop, we were sort of just chasing them down, a 10th and a half a lap, and we both knew that we had fuel in hand, so we just tried to, close the gap as much as possible so we could come out with a bit of a lead and, just break that draft. So, yeah, it was a good race with Jared at the end. I had a bit of a scare, sort of 5 or 6 laps to go with one of my brake rubbers sort of wanting to split, so I was happy to come home and not take Jared out in the process, but yeah, the old pedal got a bit long towards the end there.
So coming into this round, was this one sort of you've marked on the calendar that you were pretty happy to race at Red Bull Ring? Is it something that sort of suits your driving style?
Yeah, it seems to be a bit better in the supercar at the tracks with, really big braking zones. The more sort of flowing tracks I seem to struggle a bit at. Jared seems to have quite the edge on me on there, and he seemed to struggle a little bit here, this round just with the long braking zones. But yeah, I've had pretty good pace here in the past, and it was just good to execute a good race here, and the car was pretty clean coming to the line as well. So didn't run into anyone or ruin anyone's races, so that's always a good thing.
Well, it was brilliant to watch. Well done, Brody. But before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I just want to thank all the sponsors on the car. Obviously, it's the same as the real life car, and with Boost Mobile and all the other partners that support Erebus and the real life program, and Jared as well, and all the guys at SSR as well. And Jay Ross puts a really good program together, and makes it really fun for myself to come in and have a bit of a go and have a race. So yeah, good job to everyone on the team.
Well done, mate. It was great to watch. Hope to see you nice and strong for the next round. But until we see you next time, thanks, Brody, and congratulations.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, what a result from Brody Kostecki to take away another a tremendous race win. And Jared, we're going to come home and talk to you now in P number 2. Can't really be upset with that considering your recent results. And with Burton a little bit further down the field, it's just a massive points game for you.
Yeah, that's it. Got to share the wins out, even if they were with my teammate. Ultimately finished in front of all my rivals, so that's the big positive of tonight. But congrats to Brody. He did all the work in the short lead up to this race. So, yeah, I helped him out with a bit of fuel dramas that he had in the start, and then he made me use all my tyres and then just passed me like I was standing still.
It's one of those ones. Was that one of your sort of, not weak points, I should say, but was that where you were playing with the strategy? Obviously, safety cars helped you a lot and brought in that strategy of get you sort of stops out the way and bring it home towards the end. Did that really just play into the factor?
I think my tyre life was a little bit worse than Brody's. He was using different gears at certain points of the track, which I think helped preserve his rear tyres. Before that last stop, I had nothing left in terms of rear tyre life, so I had to go in, and he was still all good, so he could have probably went on for a little bit longer. But yeah, he definitely had a bit better tyre life than that I did. That's for sure.
That definitely explains the early pit strategy, because I thought you guys were going to run a little bit longer too in terms of that second stint before the last stop. So obviously the call of the tyres, and tyres are king around here, especially with the way it is in terms of being so close with the draft. So you did an epic job, both of you, to get the job done here for Boost Mobile Racing and come home with that one too. And obviously I did mention on the broadcast, I was like, I'm sure they were with SSR, so it was 1, 2, 3 for you guys with SSR, so it was an awesome job. But heading to Monza, you have a really good, comfortable lead, but anything can happen there. How do you feel heading into that round?
Yeah, good. Yeah, Monza's a favourite track of mine. I've had some good success there in previous years in different series and whatnot. So it should be good to go there. It's always fun. It's pretty much just like this track, but with a bit bumpier and a few more braking zones.
It's definitely going to be interesting, especially in only 2 weeks' time. But congratulations, Jared, on an amazing result here today. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to? Anyone you'd like to give thanks?
Obviously Nathan for jumping in as the spotter tonight. He had 2 people to look after, so thanks again, Nath. Also a shout out to Jordan getting a podium. That's great for him. Great for his business as well. I'd like to thank him for coming on board this year on my car, even though it is a little bit of a minor sponsorship deal, but he's been a big supporter of mine as well, so I can't thank him enough. As well as Boost Mobile and Erebus as well. Can't get it done without them. They're a great support on and off the virtual racetrack. And also I'll give a quick shout out to my #1 fan, Tammy, my sister-in-law. She's been wanting me to say this for a little while, so yeah, hope she enjoyed the race.
Well, there you go. Hopefully it was a good race and you brought home a 1-2, so hopefully she enjoyed that one. Thanks, Jared, and hopefully have a good round in 2 weeks' time at Monza.
No worries, mate. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll chuck it over to you, Sam, and you'll be with our 3rd place finisher, who should be ecstatic with that, Jordan Ross.
Jordan, no doubt. It's never great when you miss out on a win, but a podium finish here for round 3, and what a battle towards the end of that race, watching those 2 battle it out up front. I reckon you'd be pretty happy with P3, wouldn't you?
Mate, I'm pumped. Yeah, the team got 1, 2, 3 on the podium, so I wasn't going to battle with them. I was just happy to sit there in third and get their draft to the checkered flag.
I actually mentioned that throughout the race that, you know, you were sitting in third, you didn't have pressure from behind. And how good is that when you can just focus on the driver in front? You know, you just hit your marks. You don't have to worry about anyone putting too much drama behind you. So those kind of races are sort of ideal a little bit, aren't they?
Mate, yeah, the car was a jet too. Like, it looked after its tyres so well. And yeah, the whole team worked so well putting that set together with all the boys at Synergy and particularly Jared and Brody. You know, we're right up until the race start, we're, you know, throwing sets around and it was a jet. So it was pretty good to have no pressure, but it was all because the car was fast.
Mate, that's key, isn't it? It's half the job done for you when you've got a decent car under you. So well done to you and your team for having that car and the setups. You guys did a brilliant job. Was it hold your breath stuff when those safety cars come out? Obviously, we weren't expecting the safety car in the first lap, but that other safety car later on, were you worried about that, or did that play right into your favour?
No, it was like on that off the start, that start line crash and that safety car in the first lap. I didn't pit because I knew the degradation and I just couldn't see, you know, like it just didn't sort of make sense. So I just stayed out. And so when the next safety car came, it evened out the strategy for everyone, so to speak. And it probably put us, the guys that didn't stop, it probably put us on a slightly better strategy. The fact that we had to take a little bit less fuel and they didn't really get much of a tyre advantage, only being one lap at the start.
Well, I'm thrilled for you, mate. Great to see you on the podium. Before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank?
Mate, all the guys at SSR, they're all been great. Like, even the guys that aren't racing in this series are all in there helping us week in, week out. As you know, it's a huge team, but everyone's just trying so hard, and it's good to... it was TDR podium at, I think, round 1, so it's good to hit them back with a SSR podium at round 3. It's awesome.
Love it. Good stuff, mate. We'll see you at Monza. All the best. Congratulations, and no doubt you'll enjoy watching this one back. But until we talk to you next time, mate, well done, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
So there you have it, Jake. The top 3. What a brilliant race here at Red Bull Ring for round 3 of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational.
Yeah, what a round. What a way to kick off this week. This round of the championship was insane. Jared and Brody once again out in front. What do you expect? Jared out in front with his teammate, with his wingman right behind him. But there was so much to talk about this race. There's going to be so much to come from this race with only 2 weeks now to turn around before we head to Monza. It's a short time to switch your head off, go, okay, done. Whatever happened here's happened. Now you got to get into the groove of Monza.
Absolutely, and that's something that these guys will be thinking about already. You know, like you said, the short turnaround, and everyone's got different things to think about throughout the week in their personal life and other sim series that they do. So it'll be focused now for Monza, and I'm already can't wait for that one. It's going to be the draft is going to be crucial there, and I think it's going to be another ripper show.
It will be. That's going to be an insane race at Monza, and I can't wait to bring that to you. And again, with Luke, who does an amazing job behind the scenes with all his camera, all his actions, all his replay work. He does an amazing job. And everyone else behind the scenes who has got the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational, Brenton and all the team have done an amazing job to get this off the ground. I have been Jake Blackhall. That was Steve and Sandman Clark. That was round 3 of the Logitech G Pro Invitational, and we can't wait to join you in 2 weeks' time when we come back for Monza in 2 weeks for another cracking race. Thank you and goodbye.
As expected, that was one heck of a race all the way through the field. You'd have to agree that this track brings out the best in the cars and the drivers. There is always a bit of controversy, which will no doubt be spoken about. We now have our shortest break of the year, just 2 weeks before we go to the home of speed, the famous Monza circuit. If you thought the pace was frantic here, be sure to catch the action in 2 weeks when we head just north of Milan for round 4. Until then, keep an eye on our pages for all the up-to-date info. You have been watching the Logitech G Pro Invitational Series.